Alrighty, let's get going. What's going on, geeks? Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Weigh In Wednesdays. I'm your host, Sam. Joining me again today, Southdown Leatherworks, the leathersmith himself, David. What's going on, Dave?
Not a whole lot, man. Not a whole lot.
Let's see. Is this the current show? I don't think this is the current show. I'm trying to find the current show so that we have the I've got to have all my stuff going. There it is. All right. I see it now. Click on it. Kill that audio because I have to see comments and I won't see comments otherwise.
Right.
All right. So we got Twitch up. We got the Facebook up. We got YouTube up. Welcome, everybody. What's going on? We are here to talk on Wednesdays, give our thoughts, opinions, and all the cool stuff that we do every Wednesday, most Wednesdays. And I guess I have to change it from every Wednesday at 9:05 to most Wednesdays around 9. We'll say that. At some point, somewhere, we'll talk about some stuff. That's probably the most accurate depiction right there. But I tried to get caught up on some things. I've House of the Dragon, did that. Got one episode of She-Hulk watched. New episodes are what, Fridays?
Are they Thursday or Friday?
They might be Thursdays now that you say that. So it'll be a new episode tomorrow.
I know it's not today.
Right. Today, I think, was Harley Quinn. There was a new episode of Harley Quinn.
Man, I got to finish catching up on that. There's so much other stuff.
Actually, you know what? I don't even know if it was a new episode. It was a Joker-focused episode. It seemed like they were using the Joker White Knight story. And that I felt like that's what they were doing anyway. You know, maybe it was just me and I was just imagining it because I wanted to see that. But they also pulled in some elements of 1989 Batman. That was pretty cool.
Well, I
almost like a little Easter egg because there was a whole parade and parade floats and he was throwing money to the crowd. So, you know.
Well, I definitely need to check that out.
Yeah, check that one out because it even had the hat, the wide brim hat that Jack Nicholson wore with the purple suit. He had that on.
Nice.
And I was looking for the big long revolver that he used to shoot down the bat plane. I was expecting to see that. Didn't see that, but they had some stuff. So, like I said, a couple little Easter egg items. But it was a very Joker-focused episode.
They've had a couple of those, I've noticed.
This one was hilarious. I did enjoy it. I thought it was. I mean, the show is great to begin with, but I did enjoy specifically this episode for what it covered.
Well, I can't remember, and I'm not going to get up and check now, but I can't remember if we are on episode or season 2 or 1. But I know recently we watched a Joker episode where it was basically Joker proved how badly he treats Harley.
Uh-huh.
And it was just like, well, gee, didn't see that coming.
Yeah, he lays it in. He lays it on pretty thick that way.
Yeah.
And they don't really tiptoe away from that, and they have gone. They've gone all in on what do they call it? On Harley and Ivy, on Hyvee. We'll call it. They've gone all in on Hyvee, and I think that is a great, like that makes for great television right there. The two of them, they're so adorable together.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
So let's see. House of the Dragon. Did you check that out?
Of course.
So
And people still laugh at me because I have not watched the end of of Game of Thrones.
Really?
I still have not seen the final episode. Yeah. It's just it.
I would almost say like, really? Why? But at this point, it's like, eh.
Well, and the thing is it a lot of other stuff was happening at that time, and I never got around to watching it. And after a year had gone by, it was like, well, I haven't watched it yet, so I should probably restart at least that season. And then another year passed, and now I'm like, I'll rewatch the whole series eventually.
Yeah, you get around to it.
Yeah. But it's like not that serious.
No, I mean, honestly, the way they ended that series, you're really not like it's safe to say you're really not missing a whole lot.
So I was better ending an episode early.
I just feel like you're not going to hurt. I mean, obviously, it hasn't affected you to not watch it up to this point,
right?
And of course, everybody's going to tell you like, "Oh man, the ending sucked." So I mean, you got to deal with all that anyway. Let's see. I wanted to check. Watch She-Hulk. Did you check that one out?
Oh yes, definitely.
I should be making a small list over here so we know all our talking points. Because you know me, my memory's bad. I'll forget and won't know what the heck. Like, what were we talking about? But yeah, She-Hulk has new episodes on Thursday, so there'll be a new episode of that tomorrow.
Okay.
I'd have to pull up HBO Max to see when the new episode of Harley Quinn comes out, because I'm not sure if the episode I watched was last week's episode or if that is this week's episode, because I can't remember when everything comes out. Normally, I see a notification in our Facebook group, which you can join by clicking the QR code. And we'll try this again by clicking the QR code in the corner, and that will bring you right over to our Facebook group. You can see our Twitch, see our YouTube channel, everywhere where we talk and stream. And pretty soon I'm going to have to include the link for the TikTok, because everything is on TikTok now. So why won't we be on TikTok as well? Oh, and you'll also be able to find out how to get one of these really nifty shirts. Grown A Geek shirt. Why? While I was really trying to point this out, I ended up like, okay, that didn't look right. But
do we still have mugs?
We do still have mugs. Now those mugs are first generation exclusives.
Ooh.
Yes. But we do offer, we have mugs, we have the little water bottles and the little wine mugs, not the Yeti, but basically like something along those lines, the thermal containers and things like that. We have plenty of those. There's bags, there's shirts, there's hoodies. It seems like hats were a little difficult to get to, so I don't have hats yet. Can't wait to get a hat.
Well, I am still working on something to possibly add to that list.
As soon as I do my part and send you something you've asked for about 5 times now.
I have it. I've been on other projects like the creepy mannequin head.
I see that. And see, we have to talk about how that mannequin head came about, because at one point that mannequin head was looking a little weird. He's looking a little gimpy. He's looking a little gimpy. And now he looks very Deadpool, very King of Hearts. As we were just talking, he looks like King of Hearts from Batman, part of the Royal Flush Gang. Yeah. But he also kind of has a Deadpool look here.
Yeah.
Well, I like the Punisher hat up top.
You
liking that.
You know me, I've always been a fan of the black and red.
Yep, yep.
So it's just I had that mask pattern, and I didn't like the mannequin head looking all gimpy, as everybody keeps telling me. So I decided to put a mask on it.
See, so it's not just me. It's not like
Yeah,
I'm the weird one who went right to the gimp.
right. But see, I've got that one, and I've got my plague doctor mask. I'm fixing to be working on a dragon mask.
Ooh,
Yeah, there was no way I was going to have that ready for tonight.
I got you. Honestly, like thinking about it. So let's go ahead. We've got our. Let me put our spoiler banner up so that everybody will know if they should hop in. They'll know that we are
Spoiling.
talking spoilers. So we are at our spoiler review portion now. Let's talk about this House of Dragons because you mentioned a dragon mask, and the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm going to kill all these names. So, matter of fact, I should probably just pull up the cast off to the side so I at least have that available. But Matt Smith, his battle helmet with the dragon wings, I thought that was really cool.
Oh yeah,
I was really happy with that.
like,
And what's crazy is I don't know that. Like, it's weird. I have a love-hate relationship with Matt Smith to begin with. He's a weird-looking guy, but he's a decent, like he's a pretty decent actor. But I feel like he takes roles that just make people want to not like him. Except for like his Doctor Who role. That was the one everybody, a lot of people like him from Doctor Who, but everything else he's done, he was, like he was in Morbius. It's Morbid time. He was the main villain, so it's like that guy. But I mean, we're not gonna like hold Matt Smith to just that, like he hasn't done other stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like he's been in a lot of different stuff. Last Night in Soho, The Crown. He was in Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? Like go all the way back to like 2002. But yeah, he was in Spider-Man. You know what I'm saying? He's got like a nice little list of credits. Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. There's a random title for you. But I mean, he's done a couple of things, so he's a good actor. He actually got some Star Wars money. So yeah, he got some Star Wars money. So he's been out there. But I think that most people are gonna know him for Doctor Who.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, like that's gonna be his biggest claim to fame.
Yeah.
And let's see. But Daemon Targaryen, I have like him and Millie Rania. Can't say her name. I don't know. Just gonna butcher all these names tonight because they all have really really odd names.
Well, I mean, most of the characters in Game of Thrones, like you've got the normal houses had normal names, and
Right.
like the outlier people that were like the wildlings and all that, they all have very weird names. But you remember those characters more because of the weird names.
Yeah. I mean, I know she's a Targaryen. She's the princess.
Yeah.
And I'll probably just refer to her as the princess. That'd be easier, less weird. But
which
she looks funny too. I can't put my finger on what it is.
All I have to say is I saw her riding a dragon and I was like, oh, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, she's got like you definitely get Daenerys vibes. You know what I'm saying? Like immediately, like that blonde hair that they have, and just that look.
Yeah.
I really like the way they opened this show. Going right to the council, and even if you were not, like if you did not watch Game of Thrones, but you were familiar that this is connected to Game of Thrones, this was a good way to show you how it's connected. And the way they did the opening sequence, like showing the way the court went down and how they were trying to decide who would become king, and the fact that there was the woman king who never was, like it came down to two people. It was like what was it, a niece and a son?
It was a niece and a brother or a cousin. Like, it wasn't, because if it had been a son, there would have been no question.
Okay, right. Because that was the whole point of trying to get the other one in.
Right.
Hey. We got a special guest joining us just in time to talk about Game of Thrones, House of Dragon. So we could get that side of it. Because I think this time it'll be interesting. There's something I'm curious to see what he has to say. Let's bring in Jeffrey. What's going on,
man? I don't watch no Game of Thrones.
Do you watch House of Dragons?
No, man.
No, I didn't. Honestly, I did not think that you did. That's why I was like, let's go ahead and get that one out the way. Then we'll open up the floor to all the other shows.
You know what happened? At first, I was like, nah, I'm not gonna mess with Game of Thrones at all. And then, like, everybody got into it, but then it got to a point where I was like, I wasn't gonna watch it to catch up. I didn't want to worry about stuff getting spoiled, so I was just like, I'm gonna just mute it. When it's over, I'm gonna go back and watch it. And then, like, everybody said the last season was so bad that I'm just like, I'm not investing in no show that doesn't stick the landing. So I just never gave it a chance.
I'll say, and I think, like, as consumers, we have become extremely spoiled.
Yeah, but it's like one of the last things America has like agreed on in the past like 20 years.
True. I mean, and like, clear.
Like, we reached across the aisle on that one.
Yeah, there was definitely a unified voice that the ending could have been better. But I think, like, people go to such extremes, though. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to like, oh, it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. You know what I'm saying? It's like, did they wrap up their story? Yeah. Did they answer all the questions? Actually, yeah. Did they disappoint a lot of people with the way they went? That's why it was such a bad ending, because it wasn't what everybody wanted it to be. And, it's like
But sometimes, though, when stuff doesn't end up the way the audience wants it to be, it's because the audience is expecting something that makes sense within the realm of like what you built. And like the thing that I keep seeing is like obviously, like, it's a show that's notorious for like, it don't matter if you top bill, low bill, like anybody can get it. Like, that's the whole thing about Game of Thrones, right? But I think the way people died and the way like people got out of here really like affected how, as an outsider, I would hear fans talk about those characters, because people, I mean, I ain't never seen the show, but I know Hodor, like,
right,
because that was like a whole thing, right? And I think even him having that kind of death, like, it increases like the lore of a character who, like, if you look at the span of the show, didn't really like last like very long. Or even, you think about what's Lisa Bonet's husband name? Like, he wasn't on the show that long either, but like, he was a character that people talked about for a while. And even the characters you hate, like Joffrey, like, I mean, I know all this stuff because really the way a character on that show got up out of here was like the thing that ended up really defining them. And I feel like in that last season, the thing that I kept hearing was like the way these characters were being like wrapped up wasn't like on par with what had been happening before in terms of character development. And so I think sometimes it is fair for fans to be able to look at something and say, like, like they say the customer's always right, but it's like, artists always feel like they're always right about their own stuff, and it's like it's not. I mean, the customer's always
once
right.
you put it out,
Yeah,
it's no longer just yours.
It has a life of its own, and people are going to interact with it the way they want to interact with it, no matter how hard you try to shepherd people to like seeing it one way.
Yeah, and I would definitely say that is a very clear aspect of it. So I can't disagree with that part of it, and that does shed a little bit of light on maybe why people were disappointed the way that they were. But I also feel like
It's not the end of the world.
yeah,
I think
but
it should.
people
I think
really
it shed light on some other stuff about the business of Hollywood that like people have been trying to talk about for a long time and didn't really have no clear and concrete examples of until that
yeah,
moment. You know what I mean?
something like
It's
that.
like we've
Oh,
been
okay.
hearing about how these showrunners are geniuses for the past however many seasons, and then like when they run out of tape, when they can't copy off somebody paper and adapt, you know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
flop. And then they try to come back with a what if the Confederacy won the Civil War show? No, my brother. Like you haven't shown me that you can like handle you can't stick the landing. Like we're not taking this story from you, man.
Yeah,
Like,
you're
y'all gotta
definitely
go
not doing the
somewhere.
right heavy lifting to earn something like that. So I will agree with that. But House of Dragons so far, I mean, given that it's a prequel, we run into another one of those scenarios that I talk about all the time, how no matter what happens, you know the ending. And I have come to understand that you can still do a lot despite knowing the ending. You still have to, like that's where it becomes more about the journey and not about the destination. And Rogue
Yeah.
One is a perfect example that you can still have a fantastic journey even if you know the destination. And with this series takes place like 172 years before the story that took place in the series Game of Thrones. So it's a lot of time they have to play with and cover, and that's some generational stuff that's going to take place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that gives them enough leeway to flesh out a couple of seasons if they choose. It won't be, it could be a one and done. It could also be something that, maybe doesn't run but a hot second. Russell, what's going on, man? Russell
I
joined
wish
us.
more shows did that. Like do a movie or your trilogy or whatever, but then just do like one-off anthology series. Like the one-off anthology series like deserves like a lot more respect in my opinion. Because that's what I want the Stranger Things to be. And that's honestly why I haven't watched anything since like after season 2. Cuz I'm just like at what point does the government come in and like just bomb this town and like evacuate everybody? You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I just it was just I just didn't
A
like it
lot of
anymore.
season 3 is basically about the government trying to come in and bomb this town.
Yeah, but it was like too
But it
little
took
too
3
late.
seasons. Yeah, it
Yeah,
took 3
like
seasons for that to happen.
it's like season 1. Like it didn't take that long for the government to show up for ET.
Right. That
Like
was years
45
ago.
minutes and it was people knocking on the door.
But I mean, it's also, it's a science fiction. There's a
No, I
story
get
they were
that, but
trying to get to.
yeah,
It's,
but
it's
I feel like it's that weird thing like I guess because I'm an artist, I always be trying to like read between the lines sometimes on like choices that like directors and showrunners and stuff make. And it's like I'm trying to figure out what kind of story they really were trying to tell. Cause like season 1 and like what I'm seeing in like some of these whoa, you've never seen ET? I'm usually not this guy, but yo, you gotta watch ET. It's not even because it's actually never mind. How old are you? because ET
Old
is one
enough
of
to have
those.
seen ET.
No, but ET is one of those where you got to see it at the right age. Like we all saw ET as children.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it would be weird, and I think the cinematography would take you out. Try to
Nah,
watch it
if you
now.
show a kid, if you show a bunch of 8-year-olds right now, ET, they would watch it. They would get that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But see, and I do think it's the not quite a maturity level, but I get the point you're making because as an adult, I'm gonna be watching that thinking, why they do this, why they do
Yeah,
that.
like the kids
That
just
doesn't
need
make sense.
something to have the right pace.
Right, and there's enough happening on ET to keep their attention.
I will say there is some of this technology in ET 8-year-olds today would not understand.
The
True.
speak and spell.
Yeah.
A telephone.
Right, like phone home. Oh my God, just text. Like, and there would be no Android iPhone conversation with ET. So it would just be like, phone home. That's the main point. I don't know. I think
I think they'd still enjoy it. They'd just be confused by some of the technology in it.
Yeah.
Well, hey there, Leanne. What's going on? Right. See, no internet. That would be a major plot point for this.
Yeah.
That was like
But I
I was
think-
rewatching X-Files a few years ago, and that was just like camera phones would poke a plot hole into it's just like poke holes into every single one of these. Because eventually, like I just stopped watching it because I was like, "Yo, Scully, you've seen too much to still be skeptical," and
Right.
she's still just like, "Mulder, we don't have any proof." I'm like, "All right, you know what? I'm out. I'm out, lady. Like you've been about evidence this whole time, and you literally almost just got abducted, and
still not enough.
You found some like weird cancer thing in your nose, and you still don't think like any of this stuff is like actually going on."
Yeah, it's just all coincidence. All coincidence. All right.
When the stretchy man came through your bathroom window and tried to he came through like your mailbox hole or something like that. I don't know, man. It was a great show though.
It gets a little weird.
And
she was hardcore scientist. I mean, and for her, it is a lot about and I think it is that scientific aspect that she needed the tangibles, but her eyes, she got her eyes and she saw a lot. And the fact that she just did not want to accept what she saw.
Well, because the thing about it is, the way they shot the show was basically like Mulder's right. All this stuff is real. And so we as an audience are seeing like all this stuff. We're seeing like the Amish people who change back and forth from men to women. Like we see that happen. So like we're looking at Scully like she's crazy because it's like, no, we know he's right and we know he's like on the right path, and you just like won't like get out the way or get in the way. You're like always a step too slow. The door always closed right before Scully get there.
Right. Conveniently, it always closes before she gets there. That's the weird part about it. I would always be curious as I won't say an example of when Mulder wasn't right, but I think in terms of him being right, it was more about Mulder was a believer, and the fact that he went down these paths, he had these experiences in his life, so he knew the truth, so to speak. And Scully was just kind of rejecting it all the time and needed additional. And that's why I think that's the point. And Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to speak for you, but when he says Mulder was right, or Mulder was always right, it was that, he had a gut feeling enough to believe the possibility of it and accept that, where Scully was always kind of like,
Mulder would be right. Not okay. Mulder wasn't. Sometimes it would be like some weird ecological thing and not a magic monster, right? Like it would just be like, okay, they drilled down into the ice in the Antarctic further than they ever drilled before, pulled up the pole, and it's not some crazy like demon. It's just like a bacteria that infected everybody and everybody like ate each other at this scientific facility. So
Right.
as long as you don't breathe it in, you're not gonna go crazy because it's just a bacteria.
See, and I think that might even be no, that's a different episode. But you all, yeah, that's the same point. But again, Mulder was still half right. You see, and that's the point. Mulder was still half right. But with
when he was like right.
Oh yeah, he was right a lot. But that was kind of the basis of that show, putting these oppositely yoked individuals together and watching their interactions. Yeah. There you go. Exactly. They always completed each other. And that's the thing. That's the balance, And actually, interesting enough, that was the yin to the yang right there. Needed someone level-headed so that Mulder wasn't.
I mean, Mulder was absolutely like off the rails for sure.
Right. Like you got to have a Scully to keep your Mulder together.
I mean, come on. Sometimes Mulder still went off the rails with Scully there.
Yeah, for sure.
But not as bad as he would have perhaps had he been alone. If he had been given free reign to do what he thought, the show would have been like maybe a season.
Mm.
Favorite show? That's okay, cool. Favorite show of all time. I don't even know that I have a favorite show of all time. Just a single
I have
show.
favorite types of shows. But yeah, I don't think I have a favorite show.
I will say that X-Files was one of those ones that I tried not to ever miss.
Okay. Like I can't even sit here and say, like, I've seen every episode of some of the dumbest stuff in comparison. Yeah. I've not seen every episode of X-Files.
Well, it falls off. To be fair, it falls off.
Oh no, these other shows, they fell off too.
Mm-hmm.
True.
But I've seen every episode of those.
I mean, like we can go all the way back to I watched
Sliders.
Every single episode of Dr. Quinn.
Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a jam.
That was
like for the kids who live with their grandma like me. Saturday night, CBS, Dr. Quinn, Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yep.
Friday night, Nash Bridges. Yep. Now, I will say, like, my parents, I remember growing up, that my parents would always do, there was New York Undercover.
Oh, your parents was hip.
Yeah, they love New York Undercover. My dad actually liked New York Undercover, and my mom sat and watched that with him. But there was a war movie that, not a war movie, but was it China Beach? I feel like I'm gonna have to look that one up and find out.
Show?
Yeah, it was a TV show.
What was it about?
Vietnam era military drama.
In the 90s? Yeah, that
possibly. I'm late 80s, early 90s. It might be China Beach. I'm thinking, like, I feel like that's not right, but it's something along those lines. And because it had like a dope musical intro. Let's see. Google knows all. Let's see what Google says. Let me find out what China Beach is. Why is that sticking in my head? China Beach, American TV series.
But yeah, maybe I'll give House of Dragons a try. I don't really care about all the like Easter eggs, especially if this is like a prequel.
Yeah, I think
maybe it'll make me want to check out Game of Thrones.
That can be I would say Game of Thrones is worth the watch despite it. That would be like saying, you know what? I'm not gonna watch the silver medalist floor routine.
I don't want to see that. Not if you already know who won. Just show me who won.
Well, that's the thing. With this one, you don't know who won. And
I know who won. I just told you we held hands across America in a time in which
so Game
we
of Thrones
so rarely
lost.
do that.
That's the point. Game of Thrones lost. Gotcha.
Well,
You gonna wait on House of the Dragon? I mean, I will make it a point to put a spoiler thread then, so that we will not bother everyone else with our House of Dragons talk.
I'm gonna see how they stick the landing on season 1, and then I'm gonna binge it. Because once I get on board, I'm on board, and then I don't want to be mad. I don't want to be sitting on the train like this, looking out the window.
I can respect that, wanting to wait for it all to be out. But I will say it was on par with the violence.
Oh yeah,
but not the adult themes of Game of Thrones.
You know what though? I'm kind of okay with that because
I am too.
Given the characters that they introduced, there's a lot more story that needs to be told, and the escapades and romps that everybody was having in Game of Thrones
was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was like there was really only like 2 or 3 truly relevant sexual encounters. Anything else could have been implied, could have been, indicated or something like that. As far as it being so necessary, I mean, obviously, there were 2 people. It was a big deal that they were together, that they slept together. That was a really big, and I'm only saying it this way because obviously, just in case Jeff ever does go watch it, we don't want to ruin it for him.
No, I won't remember.
This you would, because it's a major plot point.
Yeah.
But the fact that
it's not a mystery. It's not a mystery show, right? Like if I just
no.
I know everybody dies.
You'll find out within the first 2 episodes.
No, it's like 30 minutes in the first episode.
Yeah.
Actually, you probably already know this. You're on the internet, whether you mute it or not at this point. But nonetheless, that was a major thing that had relevance to the overall story. That how graphic or whatever, that's up to the director, the actor and actresses, etc. Daenerys and Khal, that's relevant.
Oh yeah,
because that is a story thing.
Mm-hmm.
And technically, I'm drawing a blank. Peter Dinklage. What was his character?
I want to say Tyrion, but that's
Tyrion.
not...
Yes. No, that's it. Tyrion.
It is Tyrion. Okay.
Tyrion and his wife.
Yeah.
Because that's a major plot point.
Yeah.
Everything else was just like sprinkled in for fun and ratings. Because there were really no other relationships that we saw, the scenes that we saw that had any actual relevance to story.
Mm-mm.
It was just gratuitous. Like a lot of the violence was just gratuitous. And after a while, it's like, okay, this is what you come to expect for that. So, it is what it is, and I'm not gonna like condemn them for it. I watched the whole thing. So it's not like I was like, oh God, another sex scene. Guess I'll walk out the room now. No, not what happened. Not what happened at all. But you know what I'm saying? Like the way they did it in this one, it was like, okay, it's there, but that's not the focus.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that. So I like the first episode. I like the way they introduced the episode. I thought that it built up the story and the gravitas of what we can expect moving forward. And as Jeff would say, I hope they stick the landing with this.
Yeah.
So we got some other things that we could discuss, and so we'll bring these comments up.
I got a Game of Thrones tangent tie-in.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and hit your tangent before we talk about
the girl from Game of Thrones. I mean, there's a lot of women on there.
Khaleesi.
She played Jean Grey in X-Men.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She was the Lady Winterfell.
Yeah. I watched a random movie the other day. I think it was on HBO. It was her and Haley Steinfeld
Really?
called Barely Lethal. It's like them, Sam Jackson.
Yeah. That,
And I was going to suggest that.
It's in my queue.
I was going to suggest that for you guys to watch. For Why Did I Watch That? If you want me to come on as a guest, I'll volunteer. Talk about that movie. Because I really don't get. I really don't get why it was so like poorly rated. The only thing I could think of is just like the timing with like a lot of violence happening like at a high school or whatever. But I mean, I thought it was like a fine teen movie, good action movie, good fight scenes. It felt like one of those things where it was like, it's just girls. But it's basically like, yeah, Haley Steinfeld is like, they're like, basically there's a secret government organization that trains like orphan girls to be like assassins.
The crazy part is that it's already on my watch list on HBO simply because it got a 26 on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
It was going to come up. So I was like, yeah, we're going to have to do that one.
But that movie actually made me realize that, like, you know how when we were talking about who gets to stay and who gets to go when, like, all these MCU and DC universes cross over? I wouldn't mind her staying as Jean Grey. I think I liked her performances. I don't think they gave her much to do.
No.
But I think she had the right level of, like I think, like, even in the cartoon, Jean Grey, they make her a little too, like,
Damsel in distress,
and she's just always like screaming and fainting and moaning, and I feel like she played that like kind of inner turmoil like the most realistically of like anybody who we've seen thus far like attempt the character.
Yeah,
that's it. That's my random Game of Thrones tangent.
Okay, that was Sophie Turner.
Sophie Turner, yeah.
That's the actress, Lady of Winterfell. But I also know that you're like a Haley Steinfeld fan. And I am too, because
I am.
Bumblebee, Pitch Perfect, not gonna lie. And even Edge of 17.
Or yeah. Man, that movie. Jeez. Dickinson, have you watched that?
I've not watched Dickinson.
She plays, it's an Apple TV show.
Well, that's why
she plays Emily Dickinson, and it's kind of like this cool, like the way they do it is cool because it's like they use like modern music and stuff, and they're like very like open about her like lesbian relationship with her brother's wife, who was her best friend, and it's like part of it is like the backdrop of the like Civil War, so there's like the interesting like historical elements to it, but you kind of get this like cool vision of how she was like crafting her poetry based on like what was going on in her life. And I just think she's a really good actress.
I've been very impressed with everything I've seen her in.
Same.
And so I would like Edge of 17 was perhaps, that's why I was willing to watch Bumblebee and Hawkeye. Just because of Edge of 17. I was like, the girl can act. And it was kind of weird watching her in Hawkeye, but it had the same slightly snarky character. This is just her a little older.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. And wasn't she the daughter in 3 Days to Kill with Kevin Costner?
Shit, probably. I don't know.
I think she might have been. I think she was the daughter in that as well. Let's see. Upcoming. Looking forward to Interview with the Vampire and Lord of the Rings. Definitely Interview with the Vampire. I am eagerly anticipating that myself.
We all know how much you're waiting for that one, Sam.
Yes.
I didn't know you was an Interview with the Vampire guy like that.
My son's name is Marius Armand.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm an interview guy like that.
So, I've never seen it. So it came out when I was like not in a position where people were showing me movies like Interview with the Vampire.
Well, that was one of those things. I had already read the books at that point, and once I heard there was going to be a movie, I was like all in for the movie, and I suffered because I'm watching the movie and I'm like, this is nothing like the book. So I struggled with it for a long time, and then when they came back and they did Queen of the Damned, that was actually much more accurate to at least the characters. The story they told was, still adapted for the movie, but it was closer, and so that was enjoyable, and that was still pretty good. Plus, Aaliyah, so that was easy to watch and enjoy. But
Yeah.
like the way they cast the character for Lestat, he was much better. His interaction with Akasha, just little details that came from the book that actually translated to screen better, were there, and that was very enjoyable. I had a similar issue and complaint when I watched The Bourne Identity, actually any of the Bourne movies, because my other favorite author is Robert Ludlum. Let me tell you something. There are like 15 Bourne books. Matt Damon is none of those characters. Now the movies, that's one of those times where I have to say, like, I've learned myself even to say when something is based on something else, it doesn't have to be true to that thing. It is boom. No, I had to put that away. What? Oh, well, obviously the book was better. The book is. I would really be impressed. You know what? I'm gonna throw this question out there. Matter of fact, I may even put this in group just to see who comes up with what. I need an example of a time where the movie was better than the book. Have there been any scenarios where the movie was better?
It's an unfair metric because only people who have read the book and seen the movie are people who like to read books. The people who would like the movie better ain't gonna read the book.
I certainly agree. But
because y'all can grade more information. It's like a medium where it's designed for people to like sit down and like nestle up with it and dive into it. Movies aren't always like that, and you can have a good movie that like gives you the information. Like, I don't need to read Hunger Games. I know what happened.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I definitely think that there are a lot of things that can be adapted, and there's situations where you can take a short story, and if you took, well, hell, half of the Stephen King movies are really just short stories. His longer books, they don't make good movies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because now you're wanting every single detail that's in that 1,000 pages, and you're not going to get that in 2 hours. You have to do like a 4-part miniseries on TV or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Right. Just to get a lot of it, not even all of it.
And I will say, the Stephen King adaptations, whether it was a movie or a miniseries, are one of the closest representations of a book next to like Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Carrie. The movie Carrie is better than the book to me, because the book gets bogged down with like over explaining like all the telepathy and all that stuff like that, and you reading articles and like scientific journal stuff. I'm just like, I don't want to read this. Like,
yeah, okay,
start beating people up. Like, start.
But see, that's only because you know that that's in there. You know what I'm saying? Because even something like, and I haven't seen the new one to compare it.
No, but I read the book first. I read the book in middle school and then watched the movie.
See,
because
for me,
they let you read that in middle school?
I mean, it was in the library.
I mean, you know what? I could easily see Jeff.
Not in the library. It was in like the public library.
Yeah.
Okay, that's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that's different. You know what? I do remember when I was in middle school, they had a section. This was probably where all the banned books are now.
Yeah, it was all the scary stuff.
Not even the scary stuff. It was an advanced reader section, is what they called it. Advanced reader. Because it was like, I mean, it was stuff that had like more mature themes. And of course, we're middle school, you know what I'm saying? Sixth, seventh, eighth grade. And I remember reading this book called The Goats. The Goats in middle school. And it was like way too mature for middle school. And that would be the kind of thing, like I would want to go back and find that book, pull up that author and whatnot. And that's something that needs to be adapted. There's this book called Bless the Beasts and the Children. I remember that. And it had like this whole this religious overtone about it, because there was this kid, John Cotton, who was the rebel, and he was trying to free the kids who got picked on in camp. And the end of the, well, I'm not going to just ruin the book like that, but his initials, JC, of course, he ended up having like this Christ-like figure thing in the book. It was just like all splattered across. So there's certain things that when you see the live action version, if you actually truly adapt it the way it's meant to be from the book, it ends up not being that good. Because I found a 1989 or it had to be like 1980 something, made for TV movie back when they used to do that. The Bourne Identity, starring Richard Chamberlain as Jason Bourne. It was bad. It was bad.
I mean, the Watchmen movie, it was like pretty much a shot for shot like make of the book, but it was kind of sluggish. It left out stuff in the book that made it like they cut the whole like what was the pirate story where like the dude was on the ship and the ship sank, and
yeah,
like they cut all that stuff out. But like in terms of like visually, like it looked exactly like you would want it to look if you were like a Watchmen fan. But it was for some reason like the way they adapted it to screen, it just didn't. It didn't.
You don't think the translation was there? I think Watchmen, specifically Watchmen, is one of those where a lot of people probably went and got the Watchmen comic afterwards, and they can appreciate the comic more as a result.
I mean more like when you translate from one medium to another, right?
Right.
Like you have to, even with storytelling, you have to do things differently because the media allows you to do things in a different way. So like when you're drawing, for instance, when you're drawing with a pencil can do certain things, but it's got its limitations. And then when you're drawing with ink, same thing. When you're doing with paint, same thing. But you can't make the paint do what the pencil does. Otherwise, it's not going to look good. You know what I mean? You have to like paint, even if you're trying to paint the same image, you have to paint it. You have to paint it in a different way based on the medium that you're using. So if you write a book, you write it one way. But if you tell in that story, like if somebody was like, tell me the story of Watchmen, and I just sat here and just like recited like passages from Watchmen, that's not like
they could be lost. Like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I feel like even with the film, I think what they should have done was focus a little bit more on like the pacing and like getting like, rather than like making sure that they got every like iconic shot, like focus on the pacing. Maybe that means we skip some stuff. Maybe that means some fight scenes aren't as long. Maybe, you know what I mean? But that medium of the film, and not just the film in and of itself, the comic book film, because we have Iron Man. We have like kind of what our modern template for, we have the Dark Knight trilogy. You know what I mean? We're not like this blank canvas that doesn't have an expectation of a comic book movie as well. And so I just felt like visually, yes, they got everything right, but is it like a good movie? Like if I was going to tell somebody to like check out Watchmen, I would probably have them watch the TV show first over the actual film, and then read the book second, and then watch the movie last, just to be a completionist.
Right. Well, I think just at the time Watchmen came out, we were still just kind of getting into comic book movies.
Yeah.
Iron Man was out, you know what I'm saying? We had like the first two in the Nolan trilogy. It wasn't a shock that they were doing a comic book movie because this was a thing that was starting to happen. But I can certainly agree that there's a whole lot happening and nothing at all.
Yeah.
Because there is so much stuff on the screen, but there's nothing really being done. And it's because they are trying to get the visuals. And it's one of those things. And this was something I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was saying how, like, you know, actually, I think, Dave, we were talking about this because it was we were talking about Wheel of Time. And I was like, how with books, you know,
you have to describe every little thing that's going on.
Well, not even that you have to describe every little thing that's going on. You have to describe the location, the place, and the weather, and how the rain was cascading across the windowsill and coming down in a rhythmic pattern, sounding like the heartbeat of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like you have all these descriptive things, and it's like you can take 3 pages of description, and that'll be 5 seconds of film.
Yeah,
because you have to get that color. You know what I'm saying? You get the color, you get the raindrop, like you get the rain hitting the window, you get the part that drips off the windowsill, and you have it going into the puddle on the ground. That took like 4 pages. Well, not 4 pages, but maybe like 4 paragraphs to describe. That was 3 seconds of film. And if you weren't paying attention to that specific moment, you're not even going to notice that part. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, honestly, that's one of the things that I can say I appreciate about Easter egg videos and things like that, and all the people who take the time to sit and watch every little Easter egg. If I happen to miss some Easter eggs, if I happen to miss some continuity errors while I'm watching the movie, because I've kind of gotten to the point, I'm one of those people, if I'm watching something and he had something in his left hand in one shot and then they switch frames and now it's in his right hand, if I didn't see him move hands or something, I'm going to notice that. If the glass was here and it was almost empty, and then seconds later he picks up the glass again and it's full, I catch that kind of stuff because I've just gotten used to seeing and looking for that kind of thing. When I watch these movies now, I may notice that image in the background that was there, that newspaper article that's in the back, because they want you to see that. It was put there for a reason. And a lot of that stuff just gets overlooked. That would be something that made a big deal in, you know what? And I don't want to get too ahead, but like I just watched, we got an episode of Why Did I Watch That coming up, and we did Secret Window with Johnny Depp. And let me tell you, that's one of those, they had me in the first half. And that's another one, doesn't stick the landing. You know what I'm saying? And I'll get more in detail about that. But there's so many situations where it's just like, it's Chekhov's gun. And you make this such a big deal, and then it doesn't mean anything later. And you get to those kind of moments, and it's very disappointing. And you're like, what was all that about?
It's because everybody's just about ideas, right? Like, it's just, I got this idea, but they don't want to like wrestle with it and work with it until you figure out how it's supposed to like really, really happen. And it's like, I don't know. It's just interesting to me. Like, I've been watching I watch a lot of like interviews. I've been watching a lot of interviews with like Toni Morrison and just listening to her talk about like her writing process has been very illuminating, because it's like you start noticing like the work where people like really like, I mean, it goes back to like Game of Thrones. Like Game of Thrones was so good because the text had been worked over and worked over and worked over so much by George R.R. Martin that the stories made sense. When people died, it made sense. When people lived, it made sense. And then, you know, you didn't take that same level of care and time and appreciation into into what you into the ending,
into
like
what
that.
you presented to people.
Yeah, and so it's like
Well,
it's
It's
just
like because you studied for the last 7 tests, you show up for test number 8 thinking, oh, well, I passed all the other ones. I should ace this one. You
right.
didn't
It's
study,
different
you didn't do
material.
the homework, you just turned in a piece of paper and you flunked it. So the overall average came down because you had like A series, like A season, B season, A season, C season, B season, and then an F.
Right.
You just killed the GPA. Dave, do
with
you have a comment about Wheel of Time? What were you gonna say?
oh, I wasn't going to say anything about Wheel of Time. I was going to talk about the whole. I honestly I forget now.
My bad,
Yeah.
I put you on the spot.
But
Well,
no,
when you
I
remember
will
that,
say where they screwed up with Game of Thrones is they tried to make something to keep the fans happy instead of waiting for Martin to actually write the next book.
Well, it's like it sounds like they didn't approach it with his same ruthlessness. Like it feels like George R. R. Martin created a world where anybody can get it, and that means anybody. But it was also a world where like you didn't just like get it in like the most random of ways. You know what I mean? Like people
Yeah,
plot.
like it made sense.
Yeah. And so when you try to like when you're thinking about the fans, you're not thinking about the character, you think about the wrong characters. And you just got to do what you feel is like right by like the thing that you create. And you see it time and time again, like throughout art, where people just like they just go against the grain, make whatever they want to make. And like we regard it as classics now, but like when they talk about it, it's like, yeah, nobody thought it would work. Nobody thought like Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson would work. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It sounds ludicrous now in hindsight, but you asking people to believe in a former like child star in a group and a man who's more known for like jazz and classical compositions than like anything else at this point. And
any pop and R&B
right,
melodies.
right. But it worked because they were able to like be true to what they were and be true to who they were, what they brought to the table. And I think like you see that in like film. I think like we talked about this a lot, Sam, with the MCU versus like DC, where it's like Kevin Feige like really cares about this universe that he's crafted because he cares about how these stories are told. He's created a well balanced universe, not only in like race and creed and gender and sexual orientation, but just like even in like genre of movie. Like some of them are comedies, some of them are buddy movies, some of them space operas, some of them are born identity movies. You know, he's got all these different kinds of movie genres that he's using to like translate this Marvel IP into a new medium. And you know, do we get some of the iconic shots? Yeah, but we're also doing stuff that's different and giving us more iconic shots. I mean, Spider-Man with the Captain America shield, that's like iconic now.
That's
You know what I mean?
that's the new icon.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, Iron Man with the like busted Infinity Gauntlet before he snaps. You know what I mean? Like we have iconography now that is, even if it is drawn from the comics, it's etched in our brains as like from the movie. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
almost like new canon.
right.
Like we've created new canon based
Like
on
he's establishing a universe that essentially at some point they're gonna have to do what George R. R. Martin and his team did, and they tried it with Agents of Shield and Agent Carter, and I think like it was just too early.
where they branch off and they start telling their own
Yeah,
created stories.
it was too early because at that point, I think whenever you heard the word Marvel, you were expecting to see Iron Man, Captain America, or Nick Fury, like on a regular basis.
Right.
And it was just like Phil Coulson, like, yeah, we like mourned you, but you like it wasn't exactly like the draw that you thought it was. You
No,
know,
we cool, like feel cool and everything,
right?
but I'm not finna watch the Phil Coulson
But
show.
where's Sam at? Tell
Right.
Sam I'm out here.
Right.
But and it's like in effect, like it ended up being, in my opinion, a very, very good show once they stopped trying to be like Marvel Movie Junior and just be like their own show and tell like their own story of something that was happening within this universe. But then you saw Marvel build on that when they did like Daredevil, Luke Cage, and all those shows. It's like that's set technically in the MCU, and we kind of already knew that because they had mentioned like some of that stuff in
some of their first episodes.
yeah, some of the first episodes of like Daredevil, then they like pull back on it a little bit. But I mean, it still made sense, you know what I mean? And they didn't keep having it be like this hangover of like, oh, Captain America was just around the corner. You just missed him, Jessica Jones. Like, darn, you know, and that's kind of what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. felt like a little bit.
Yeah.
In the beginning. Once the like Hydra infiltration happened, the show like did a 180 and it was like can't miss TV for me for about 2 years, honestly.
Okay. You know what? I would say that they are still, you say it's going to come a time. I think they are at that point because they've managed. Okay, so first of all, everybody talks about how they took characters that nobody knew or cared about and have made them like main characters.
Right.
People know who the Guardians of the Galaxy are.
Right.
I didn't know the Guardians had a comic before this.
Right.
But now when I think of the Guardians of the Galaxy, here's the lineup that I picture. Even though many, many different members have been a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Right. Same thing with Avengers.
Right. Like we talk about Avengers, and that's where I was going with next. We talk about Avengers, and now we have a mental lineup of Avengers. And it's not even the original Avengers that are there.
Nope. It's the ones that were standing in that circle when they pan the circle around. Iconic moment. That's is solidifying it in your mind. Like they're creating mythology. But when I say they're gonna have to create new, I mean like with characters that's not even like in the comics
exist. No, and I get that.
Like the timeline is gonna flip, and they're gonna be doing like, you know how you used to go to Pizza Hut and get like the Ninja Turtles comic book after the movie came out. That's what they're gonna be putting characters in the movie, and then the comic book gonna come out afterwards.
And I believe that because. And this is what that's why I have this comment on screen right now, because Russell points out he just finished watching Miss Marvel and just started She-Hulk. And when I think about Miss Marvel, I haven't read a lot of her books, but I get the feeling that like Cameron is not in her comics. Just because as we find out that she's Djinn.
Yeah, they changed a lot about her story.
Right. And so they did that. And at the end, they dropped that one little Easter egg, maybe, where they talk about like, oh, maybe she's a mutant. And of course, that blew all up. And there was a bunch of like comic clips and things like that. I think Ace Vane did one where he was like, you know, now that Kamala Khan's a mutant, oh, it's totally different. What you got?
Apparently, if you look at the new comment that was just posted, apparently he is in the comic.
So is he still Aisha's son? Not Aisha. Well, I guess that'd be like the nephew or whatever.
I think the way they wasn't he an Inhuman in the comic?
I mean, he might have been because technically she's not an Inhuman, but she's affected by the Terrigen Mist, which is all based on the Inhuman story. So they changed all of that.
Yeah, what I'm saying is because in the comics, okay, so first of all, I haven't even finished yet, I don't care about none of it getting spoiled. But what I was gonna say is what it has felt like they're doing is they're taking her origin story, but then like changing like background information on the character. So in the comic, Kamala isn't inhuman. She gets like sprayed by a Terrigen mist or whatever at a party. She figures out she's got powers, and then she meets him first, and he's also an inhuman. He takes her to like the inhuman like little castle or whatever, and a whole bunch of stuff goes left and she has to escape and all this other stuff like that. It's like very parallel to like him taking her to like the other gen, and then her realizing like, okay, this is not on the up and up. Then she goes to Pakistan in the comic book, same way. Meet the dude with the little red mask on his face, same thing in the comic book as well. Right. But they just changing like little background information, because I think they're trying to decide if they're going to make Inhumans canon or not.
I would be shocked if they do, simply because
they don't know how they want to do it, and if they want to do it on this Earth, because they've already added Inhumans because we saw Bolt in Doctor Strange. But I think they're trying to figure out what from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Inhumans, like the TV show, what of that is gonna be like allowed to seep into like this new parallel.
What's gonna stick and what's gonna fall?
Exactly.
Yeah, I get that.
And they were just like, we probably just don't want to saddle like one of our best young characters with like cleaning up that whole mess. So let's give her some cosmic energy or cosmic bracelet or something.
That kind of makes sense.
We can team her up with other females and do a whole girl power, female empowerment and whatnot. And the young lady
doing the Marvels.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like by teaming them up and having them
get mad incels.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, but we have 2 POCs and their women, along with Brie Larson. Watch the people get angry.
7% Rotten Tomatoes.
It's official.
They're gonna be mad.
Where is it official? All he said was that her genes showed a mutation at the end. She made a joke that, like, you know what? Well, Jeff said he don't care. Makes a comment that, you know, it's just another label, which of course was like the, you know what I'm saying? So I get it. And I was even joking. Like there was a lot of stuff that came out right after that.
And technically, like Inhumans have a mutation in their DNA as well. That's why they're Inhumans. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be more interested in seeing how they might get back to the Terrigen Mist with it.
Right.
See, and that's the thing that's different between a mutant and an Inhuman is a mutant is born with that mutation, whereas an Inhuman got it from that mist.
No. The Inhumans have the DNA, but it's dormant unless it's activated by the Terrigen Mist. But mutants, it's just like when you turn 13, when puberty hits.
Right. That power is going to develop at some point.
And yeah, it's gonna come out regardless. But like there's like Inhumans where it's like if they never get exposed to Terrigen Mist, then they just live their life as just like
regular. Have an extra chrome.
But the Inhuman like Terrigen Mist like origin story on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was like a really, 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 really good like saga in that show. They had some like really, really good, like they started just breaking their seasons down into like little like 6 to 10 episode vignettes. Okay. And like some of them were like really good.
That sounds like something they were doing on Young Justice, where they had the metahumans.
Yep.
And they were like seeing who was affected, who they could turn, and who got powers, who didn't, sort of thing.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch some of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because I had started that series and then I got rid of Netflix, or I think that's where I started it on, and then I never got back to it, and I think now it's on Disney.
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus now.
See, now that it's on Disney, Like I want to say, like, yeah, you know what? I'll make some time to check that out, bro. I ain't got no extra time. I'm not even gonna sit here and try to pretend like I'm just gonna be able to make the time.
Yeah.
But it is something that probably deserves more of a watch because I found out about a lot of the different stories that they did. And I'm like, oh, that would have been cool. I would have been okay with watching that. I wanted to see
Yeah.
that. You know what I'm saying? Because like the idea that they even had like Ghost Rider and stuff on it. And I'm like, come on, wait a minute, what?
Yeah, the dude that played Ghost Rider on there, I used to play basketball with him when I lived in LA.
That's dope. That's dope.
But it was before he was Ghost Rider.
Obviously, I mean, you know, like he probably don't even he got a different phone number now. You know that's how that goes. The way it happened is almost the way it happened in the show. I ain't trying to make you type out a whole lot, but what?
She said it's official she'll be a mutant. Somebody said Kevin Feige said it was.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make Kamala Khan a mutant, then I'm curious. Like, are they? So they did that in the comics as well.
Because here's the thing.
I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. Did they do that in the comics?
Here's the inside baseball on it. Here's the inside baseball on it. Okay. When Marvel like realized that they were basically like a cash cow, right? And they got bought by Disney. One of Disney's strategies business wise was anything that we do not own the rights to, we're not going to like push those things heavily in consumer products, right? So that includes all of X-Men, anything owned by Fox. The only exception was Spider-Man because there's just no way you're not going to sell Spider-Man t-shirts. But they always made us focus more on selling comic book Spider-Man stuff than we did movie Spider-Man stuff when it was just Sony, which is why when you look back and you think about it, when all those Spider-Man Tobey Maguire movies were coming out, you don't see very many t-shirts or memorabilia or consumer products that have that Spider-Man logo on it because that's a Sony property and it's just like a whole like they basically made it harder for you to like sell that kind of stuff. Now what they had decided in the comics was it didn't look like they were ever going to get the rights back for X-Men. And so they had tried, so basically like they were like we need to find like a new way to bring these characters in. And they did originally want her to be a mutant, but when they brought her in, it was in a time when they were basically killing off all the mutants in the comic books because they were basically going to replace mutants with Inhumans. And that's when like the original Inhumans, the TV show was supposed to be a movie originally. And then they wrote it all into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. so people would be able to like understand it around that same time. And then the Fox acquisition happened. And then all this stuff happened and everything started changing and mutants started coming back to life. And, that just happened over in this universe and other universe. And now people are alive and old man this. And now we can put Captain America and Wolverine on t-shirts again together because everything is all hunky-dory on the business side. So that's why that's so confusing because they're right. She was supposed to originally be a mutant. She's like obsessed with Wolverine. You know what I mean? She's like a fangirl in the comic book. And like Deadpool, Wolverine, those are like two of the ones that she like really looks up to like the most in terms of like wanting to be cool. But then also when she's in like all different Avengers, she's under like Sam Wilson. So they wanted to put her in Avengers, but if she was a mutant, they weren't going to be able to do that in the comic book. So they changed all that in the comic book for those business reasons, and then the business reasons changed, and so it looks like they're kind of saying we can rectify this but because it's like they could also retcon her in the comic book too and make her a mutant at some point because
just straight up
I just don't really think we're ever going to get to a point where we're going to really care about seeing Inhumans on screen. Like a superhero who don't talk is not like for this time. Like maybe Charlie Chaplin. Like we get somebody playing piano underneath you with some like Black Bolt like cards popping up.
I mean, there's absolutely no reason. Now check this segue out, y'all. There's absolutely no reason they can't nerf Black Bolt the way they've been nerfing the Hulk. Because in She-Hulk, see how we did that? We came right back around. But like, no, seriously, they could absolutely make the character like the version that we saw in Doctor Strange. Even that version, we don't know the extent of his powers other than he just said sorry and Doctor Strange wasn't there no more. But we saw Wanda say what mouth and Black Bolt wasn't there no more. So we still don't have like an understanding of his level of power. So until you get to at this coming in, because he included Russell Park was Snake Eyes.
But in the Snake Eyes movie, he talked the whole movie until the end.
Right. And so when you have a character like Black Bolt, where there's really not a way to put a not a level, a gauge on his power level to say what he can or can't do, because like we have X-Men First Class to see what it looks like when Banshee screams to fly.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so we see that visual. That in my head was the same visual I saw when Black Bolt told Doctor Strange he was sorry and Doctor Strange wasn't there no more. So I'm like, could Banshee do that? Could Banshee stand in front of somebody and say something and then they not be there no more? Because there's not a way to visually show that difference in power. As such, if they want to like bring Black Bolt down a little bit so that the Inhumans can be a part of the canon that they're trying to establish, they absolutely could do that. And much like you were saying earlier, if they get to the point where they're already writing their own stories, they're already telling it the way they want it to be told, and you have people who are like standing up, well, in the comics, but now it's like, but in the MCU, and that's just as valid a point. Mm-hmm. When there was 5 movies, you could easily say, well, in the comics, because there was such a broad history to take from. We got damn near 30 movies in the MCU. That's a lot of hours. That's a lot of story that's been told. And that has its own canon at this point. And because of that, you can't discredit something as easily or as quickly by saying, because the comics, because the MCU has established itself a nice little foothold in Marvel as a whole. So much like you said, we're going to go and see the movie and then get the comic. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it would not be hard, because I'm certain we're going to be getting more and more original characters. It's as long as they still have the license and they can pull a name out of a hat and say, let's include this person. Boom. Now they can like take somebody else who was nobody and make them big. As long as they have the names and titles to keep doing that, sure. But at any point, if they want to create an all new character just for this or just for that, they absolutely could do that. And it would be believable, because all they have to do is write it into the story they're choosing to tell.
And I honestly think that like if they did that, it would be a lot better for like some of these newer characters that they try to introduce in the comic books, especially on the like diversity and inclusion side. Because we know as much as I love comics and talking comics with people, like we know what fandoms are like, and we know what certain sections of fandoms, think about stuff like that. And I think it would just be easier. It's easier to get somebody, like if you're not going in a comic book shop, you're not seeing like some of this new stuff that's coming out. But, think about how many people like have started reading The Boys or Invincible now that the like actual comics and like the cartoons and the live action TV shows are coming out. I mean, it's definitely like driving the traffic like the other way in a lot of respects. Cause I mean, those Boys comic books have been selling like crazy since the show started. Same with Invincible. So
Yeah. I mean, I remember when they announced Invincible. Actually, I think like after the first 1 or 2 episodes of Invincible, you could get the entire omnibus for Invincible. It was like $75. You try to buy that piece now, it's like $175, $200
yep.
for the omnibus, and it's like, oh, okay. I guess supply and demand. People are watching. Everybody's starting to go in and want to read more and get ahead and this and that. And now it's moving a lot further.
And people buying to hold on to it so they can resell later for a higher price, make it a collector's item.
Exactly.
And the same thing happened with Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, Robert Kirkman, my guy was like almost done with that whole like. Didn't he go back to writing the comic because of the show?
I think so.
Like he was just about ready to like call it quits on the comic, or the comic was about to be scrapped, and then that first episode, first couple episodes before that season was even done, like they was like, hey, get to writing. Here's some money. Go do your thing.
Yeah, and I know within about 2 weeks of them announcing that they were going to be doing Walking Dead, you could not find the Walking Dead mini books anywhere.
Yeah. Walking Dead makes the main wall now. That to me blows my like I have 2 comic shops that I go to, and I remember like Invincible wasn't the one. I didn't know much about Invincible when it, like I'd heard about it and I was like, oh yeah, I'll check it out at some point. And I think I always got that confused with this thing that Stan Lee came up with. And I have to look up and see what that one was. But it was a similar concept. It was just like this one character and he's the main guy. And then I would go to the comic shops and whatnot. And when The Walking Dead first started being on TV, I remember they have like the new release, the pull, the pull list. That one section that was a pull list. They had another section that's like the new issues and new releases. And they only put like the top titles on that. The ones that people are buying, the ones that are getting sold, the people are going in for every week to, pick up the new issue or this and that, or then every month to get the new issue. And Walking Dead has been on the main wall for some time now, and it's just, it blows my mind. And when you try to go like get some of those backlog issues, hard, difficult, they're gone. And everything that was in the boxes is now out of the boxes and back on the shelves. And since they don't do a lot of reprints, you get what's available. I was upset because today I was actually out I was working out in the city where one of my comic shops is, and I have to go get the last couple of issues of Berserk. And I did not have enough time on lunch because I was actually hungry and wanted to eat food. So I opted to eat food rather than go get my new issues of Berserk.
You actually ate?
I did eat on lunch. It's a rarity, but
like that usually only happens when I come to town.
Right. I mean, because I be busy, man. I be busy. But I was out in Griffin today, and I went by, and I'm going to give a shout out to Bungie Comics in Griffin, Georgia. Every time I go in there, he has something that I just gotta have. I've gotten a lot of my good issues have come from there. In fact, all of my variant covers have come from him lately. He usually has 2 or 3 of the variants. He does a really good pull. When he does his orders, he does a really good pull, and there's always stock, and I love it. So shout out to Bungie Comics, Griffin, Georgia. But I was out there today, and I was saying to myself, like, oh man, lunchtime, I'll be able to go. And I even went and ate right down the street from it. But that sandwich was so good. And I finished my meal, and I dispatched on my next job and completely forgot. And I was like, dang, I had 20 more minutes left on lunch. All I need to do was go in and get those issues. So I got to get the last issues of Berserk, which I just found out is supposed to be getting an animation adaptation. That's the Keanu Reeves story. That's supposed to be getting animated.
His life story?
No. Well, so Keanu Reeves has written a comic book called Berserk.
Oh, I was about to say that's a crazy name for like a memoir comic book.
It's called Berserker. And,
That's like the comic book title that I would like least think of for Keanu Reeves.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like what's the easy way to describe it. It is Immortal John Wick wants to know how to die. That's the easiest way. Like when you think of a character like Vandal Savage or Apocalypse, they've been around, or even think of something like the Old Guard. You know what I'm saying? These characters who like don't die, and they do the types of things that they do. At some point, they're gonna get tired of being here.
I watched everything I loved around me wither and die.
Right. You know what
They
I'm saying?
always have that speech.
I mean, that's like in what, every other Highlander?
Right?
Looking off in the distance with their hands behind their back. Like, man, you ain't deep.
No, I mean, I think the last time I saw something along those lines that I thought was done really, really well was most recently in The Sandman. The episode they did there where the guy, he says, you know, every 100 years we'll come back and we'll meet. And 500 years, and we see this guy go up and down, up and down, up and down. And he's like, you know, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I'll get it all back. And every time, it's just something new with this guy. And he was like, he says he left and returned as his son a couple times. So it's like, I can see like coming back, he's the same age. So you stay gone for just that long. And then you show back up 25 years later, 30 years later. And it's like, wow, you look just like so-and-so. Oh, yeah, that was my dad. Oh, wow. And sure, that's your dad. Of course you could look just like him. So, but yeah, with this one, the book is called Berserker. And Netflix is supposed to be adapting a live action. So I take that back, not animated. Nope, wait, it's both. Because what did I see? This was July 23rd. Keanu Reeves' Berserker announces anime series. And we have Netflix doing what Netflix does. Netflix acquired the rights to Boom Studios. And Berserker will be the first story adaptation. Oh, okay. So here's a little bit more. They are doing both, and it looks like they're doing both together. Since Netflix has acquired the rights to the Boom Studios comic book Berserker, they will first adapt the story into a feature film, followed by an anime spin-off series. Berserker is created by Keanu Reeves, co-written by Reeves, and New York Times best-selling writer Matt Kent, known for Folklords and Bang. Illustrated by famed Marvel artist Ron Garney, known for his Wolverine and Captain America art. Colors by Bill Crabtree, BPRD, which is supposed to be getting another sequel. Ryan Reynolds and yeah.
Let's talk about failing up.
Letters by Clem Roberts, who does Hellboy. And character designs and covers by Raphael Grampa. The Dark Knight Returns, The Golden Child. So it's pretty dope. I mean, it's a 12-issue series, and I'm a couple issues behind. I got like 1 through 6. I have 2 variants. And so I don't think all 12 have come out. I think right now they're only up to like 10. So, but that's I gotta get back in there and grab my Berserker comics. I don't even know where that came. I don't know what I was talking about before I got to thinking about that.
We were talking about comics and how most comics bookshops set up their wall,
Oh, right.
and then
That's what it was. Yeah, and the fact that Walking Dead made the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a
Because we were
shock.
talking about how like comic books now, how shows and movies are driving people back towards comics versus people going to see a movie because
They read the
they
comic and
read
they
the
want to see
comic
the movie.
first.
Yeah. You know what? I need to find out what's the, I think it's called The Samaritan, the Stallone comic story. Or
I
I don't even know
saw.
if that one's based on an actual comic or if that's just his superhero flick. And now they're going to try to. Let's see.
What? I just saw a preview for that the other day.
So Samaritan 2022. That is going to be on. Was that on Prime?
I don't remember.
Yeah, Prime Video, August 26th. So that's about to drop.
That's
And
2 days.
yeah,
All right.
and that's actually based on the Mythos comic book. So,
Which, yeah, I actually am going to probably be getting Prime back next month because we've got Samaritans coming out. There is something else coming out this month on Prime, and then the new Lord of the Rings show. Plus, I have to finish The Boys, and I have to finish Wheel of Time. Yeah.
I mean, you do a lot of leather work, so I'm gonna give you a pass on that. But when does the Adams come out? When does not Adams Wednesday?
That's
Show Wednesday.
I don't know when it comes out, but isn't that one on Prime too?
I think so.
I thought it was on Netflix.
I don't know where that one is. Yeah, that is Netflix.
Okay.
That one is Netflix.
And is that coming out this month or next month? Or does it not say?
I'm checking. I don't know. I know it was coming up, and there's some. Oh, look at that! I tell you, boy. Whenever you don't intend to, you can always see something in casting that'll give you something away.
Yeah, doesn't that suck?
No, this is. I mean, it's weird. Like I don't like spoilers, but if I look up casting, I'm okay with that.
Oh no, I hate it. Like,
because you never know exactly like who or what or.
Well, whenever I know a movie's coming out that I really, really want to see, I try not to even look at anything below the top 4, because you start getting below the top 4, you find out secret characters that they haven't even shown in the previews that you have no clue are coming out. And it's like, and then you're sitting there watching the movie waiting on that character to pop up because you know they're going to be there.
Yeah, all I'm saying is 2022 doesn't give a date. So, but I mean, the return of Tim Burton, I'm looking forward to it. It's got his hands on it. I'll check it out. It'll be interesting. What little bit I saw in the trailer, and that seems very, very interesting. I'm curious to see the dynamic between Catherine Zeta-Jones and the acting that they have set up for, Luis Guzman as Gomez Adams, because I don't know. I Catherine Zeta-Jones, that to me is like, okay, that's your Morticia.
See, my whole thing is like I'm thrown off by Luis as Gomez.
No, that actually makes perfect sense to me. I'm good with that.
If you look at the comic, the original design for Gomez Adams, it's like he doesn't look like Raul Julia, but he looks like the original like comic book Gomez Adams for sure.
I think the only reason it throws me off so much is I'm trying to picture him like it's weird. I don't know how to explain it. I don't have a problem with Luis Guzman. I'm actually excited for that version of Gomez Adams. It's Catherine Zeta-Jones that throws me off, because I automatically don't get Angelica Houston. Right. I don't get Angelica Houston vibes from her at all. And so I'm trying to picture her as being like dark and morbid and stuff. And I'm just like,
I mean, she's sultry though.
I didn't say she wasn't fine. Like, she's gonna look great in the dress, but
I'm saying like she can have a like sultry personality, and I think like you can lean into that. And the writing is what's going to turn it into like morbidness. But like, you know, for me, I think when I think Morticia Adams, it's like, yeah, she's saying like crazy stuff, but the way she's saying it, and so it's just like, just all she got to do is be able to say it. Just, I mean, Catherine Zeta-Jones could talk your panties off.
If she do a good Angelica Houston impression, I'll probably just gobble it right up and have no issue with it.
What if she just be her?
I don't know. Because see, if she just be her, I'll be thinking like Mask of Zorro. I'll be thinking like Mask of Zorro and Entrapment the whole time.
Mm.
And you know who they should have got? They should have got Monica Bellucci.
Who is that?
The Merovingian's wife from The Matrix.
Mm.
Who?
So in The Matrix, the one that was like, kiss me like you kiss her, but you have to mean it. And she would unlock the door. The Merovingian, the little French guy.
Oh, okay.
Was like, okay, cause and effect. I drank some wine. Now I must take a piece. He was also the CEO that fired Halle Berry's Catwoman. You can hear all about that if you go back and watch Why Did I Watch That? Denise and I are going to be recording an episode real soon. That we got 2 episodes coming up. We're going to do on that. And now I have to watch it. And, you know, like I said, it was already on my watch list. So I got no problem. I'm going to check out the Barely Lethal.
Yeah. Like, to me, it's like, like giving movies like that a low score is kind of like, I look at it like my wife used to do gymnastics growing up. So we watch a lot of gymnastics. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I learned like kind of fairly recently, which is weird because like I grew up watching gymnastics because my grandmother liked it for some reason. So Olympics, we would watch it. But you know, like when they do a vault, there's like a max score that vault can get. Mm-hmm. And then if you do that score perfectly, that's how high you can get. So like you might go up there and this vault has a max score of 10. Okay, you started at 10, then they deduct. But like another one might be like this vault has a max score of a 9.5 because it's not as difficult. But then you can stick that. And I think it's one of those things where sometimes like you just gotta like grade movies on a curve. Like this movie is not here for people to like. This movie's not to win an Oscar. This is supposed to be a fun family teen franchise romp movie with some like CIA elements added to it. And like if you watched it as anything more than that, and I think it's like everything doesn't have to be book smart. Everything doesn't have to be Edge of 17. Everything doesn't have to be I mean, it felt more like Mean Girls than anything to me.
For every fantastic, well-written meta movie, I'm gonna go and watch a Fast and Furious.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Exactly.
But I think everybody looks at, well, I won't say everybody, obviously, because we're sitting here saying the exact opposite. But when I was saying earlier how like a lot of people have become spoiled, that's kind of what I'm talking about. They go and they sit down and they watch a movie and they want to be Roger Ebert and be this like, you know, super
Harsh,
intelligent and,
harsh critic. Like saying something nice means that you don't understand the art.
or
Like,
more
trust me.
importantly, saying it like, you know what, it made me laugh and it was funny
Right.
because I went to go see a comedy. All right, man, we appreciate you being by. Have a good night. Take it easy. Um, you know what I'm saying? But it's like if I go to watch a comedy and I laugh, movie did its job. That's all I
Yeah.
expected from it. If I go to watch a suspense and I'm trying to figure out who did it and I can't figure it out, movie did its job. You know what I'm saying? And if I go to watch like one of the action summer popcorn flicks, I want to see some shit blow up. I want the big boom. I want to hear it rumble, and you know what I'm saying.
Right.
I want somebody to root for, kind of thing. And even with like when we were talking about the star power, because last week we talked about how the star power of The Rock would stand up against something like the Batman. And again, it's like those are different kinds of movies, and I'm watching them for different reasons.
Yeah.
And so they're not gonna measure the same. But then it's like, well, that becomes a thing where it's like, okay, you're comparing apples and oranges, but it's like you can still compare fruit, and I'm very aware of that, but you can't. You automatically have to fail an orange for not being an apple, and vice versa.
Exactly. It's kind of like, okay, like you like different types of fruit and you don't like other types of fruit, but within that fruit, there's still intrinsically like ripe fruit and spoiled fruit and not quite ripe fruit. Like, and I think people bite into an apple and the apple is ripe and you're like, ugh, I don't like apples. 26 Rotten Tomatoes. And it's like, no. This is not about how you feel about apples. This
Right.
is about how this apple measures up to other apples.
This is a shiny, crisp, crunchy apple. It's at the peak of appleness.
And it's like you may never like apples, but
That
then
doesn't mean it was a bad
that
apple.
means you don't need to judge apples if you can't
Right. Like
can't suspend your own personal feelings about the fruit as a whole to like
let's see,
judge.
everybody, so many people want to come in here and be like, well, I only eat the Kents.
Yeah.
I only exclusively eat dragon fruit imported from. So, like, man, shut up, okay? Because everything ain't gonna be dragon fruit.
It's like you're gonna be hungry on the road trip.
Sometimes you go get like the grapes at the bottom of the bag, and sometimes you go get grapes off the vine, and sometimes you just go get whatever fruit is in there. You know what? That banana might look like it's starting to go bad, but if you peel it, you'll see that there are no soft spots on the banana itself. But because it had that outer peel that wasn't like bright yellow, you was like, this ain't gonna be no good. Or maybe you take that banana, you make some banana bread instead. If you came in with the intentions to see something for a specific reason, or you were looking for this, that, or the other, as opposed to, and now I feel like I'm sounding like you, as opposed to just watching the damn movie that's being shown to you.
Got him, guys. We got him.
Damn it.
He's officially converted. My work here is done.
All right. Well, that's a show, folks. But as opposed to watching what's presented to you, because when I watched this one the other day, and you'll get more on this when we talk about Secret Window. But when I watched Secret Window, I had never seen it, surprisingly enough. Like, I'm a Johnny Depp fan. I've seen most of his stuff. And somehow this one kind of slipped through the cracks. And I think because it was one of those that, like, not a lot of people talked about it. Not a lot of people had good things to say about it. We looked at the reviews. It's like, 50-50. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I see why nobody was really, really hyping this, because I've seen this same concept done better so many other times.
Right.
How did that fit in this movie? Well, overall, I think they did the element that makes the story pop was done well, even in that movie. But the delivery of that information is what failed. And because
Right.
of that, you automatically compare it to like 3, 4 other movies that had the same concept, same premise, and those did it better.
Yeah.
And so by failing on that premise, it's like, okay, I can make that comparison and say that this is why this movie wasn't good. They built up all this stuff, had no payoffs for any of that. And, you know what I'm saying? At the end of the movie, I still have like what I consider major questions because they were like focused on plot points. And the fact that you didn't talk about none of that is like an issue. So
Yeah.
that was like, that I had a problem with. But then one of the other ones that I watched, I was like, you know what? I really can't be that upset with this movie. We did The Scorpion King with The Rock.
Right. Like, what do you want that movie to be?
Like, you know what I'm saying? And I honestly, the stuff that I had to kind of nitpick about that movie, I was like, you know what? I don't really think I had a problem with this movie. Because even some of the stuff that I wanted to be upset about wasn't actually even in that movie. It was in the other movie. Like the horrible CGI, all of that was in The Mummy. That wasn't in The Scorpion King. So, you know. But I am gonna make it a point real soon. I want to say we're gonna try to record. I don't know. We'll talk off air about it. But we're gonna try to get those episodes done soon. I got to catch her while she got some free time. And so I've got let's see. I've got one other thing that I want to do tonight. I actually have an unboxing that I want to do. I've never done an unboxing. But somebody sent me something, and I thought it would be kind of cool to actually do an unboxing. Okay. Just because I'm like old as hell. And this is something that came out a long time ago, and they're bringing it back. And see if I can find the details about them. Just pull that up. So, all right. So I'm gonna step out 2 seconds, talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna go get this box so I can have it ready. I'll be right back.
So what did I miss?
Nothing. We were just talking about how people like don't know how to rate movies properly because they think everything should be like they like rate everything against like The Godfather, and it's like, okay, yes, like no, like Barely Lethal starring Haley Steinfeld is not as good as The Godfather. I'm sorry, but it's also like, what is, and is that the only kind of movie that you watch? So we kind of just went on this like analogy about like people who like different types of fruit and other people who don't, and it's just like you can't just say this apple sucks because you don't like apples. It's like there's a scale.
Yeah.
And it's like this apple is good, but you just don't like apples, and that's okay. Maybe you shouldn't be the person that we're asking to judge these things by. But I think that's why like there's like movie reviewers that I just like stay away from, and ones that I just read more regularly. I don't really read a lot of movie reviewers before I see movies, but for the most part, I think a lot of people are just trying to be like shocking and say something that'll go viral rather than just like talking about the experience of seeing the movie, because they all want to be the next Siskel and Ebert.
And see, and what's funny is I was actually about to bring something up about them. I always felt like anything that Siskel and Ebert rated as bad was actually a good movie.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And most of the stuff they rated as good was a good movie. But It's like everything is subjective.
Yeah.
And you can't force your opinion on somebody else.
Like the movie reviewer that I read the most is Wesley Morrison. He's writes for the New York Times now, but he used to do like Grantland, and I like his reviews because he doesn't really say if like the movies are good or bad. He uses like words like, this works, this doesn't really work, but he just talks about just overall like what the experience of the movie is, what the director might be trying to get you to invoke or feel. And sometimes you just get the vibe from his review where it's just like, look, this wasn't for me, but if you like this sort of thing, check it out. But if you don't like this sort of thing, like definitely don't check it out. Or it'll be like, if you like this sort of thing, it still was not done well, so you still might not enjoy it because you want it to be good.
Okay.
But
I might actually have to check him out.
yeah, but I think a lot of other people are just like a lot of these websites, and then that's before you even get into all the doxing and like people just going in and trying to like downvote and do all this. Like I already know that's coming for this next Captain Marvel movie. They're about to be super mad.
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, come on. People were going after Captain Marvel when before it even came out, which was freaking insane to me, but
And it's kind of wild because it's just like this was a decent movie. And if you like can get over yourself in terms of just like Marvel origin stories, I think it's up there because it does a good job of explaining who she is. Like it's not really connected to the universe, so she doesn't have the like crutch where she can be like, this is my cousin, and so you guys know me because you know him. It's just like, I'm just this new person. I'm on the block. Here's who I am. This is my story. Follow along. And it was an interesting and a compelling story, in my opinion. But I think like a lot of people kind of saw themselves being, I guess they felt attacked. I don't know. But just people just being overly sensitive.
no, that doesn't happen this day and age.
Right.
Overly sensitive.
Right. It's like I just I'm like, how dumb you sound getting mad that a woman said, I hope that there's like a lot more women like covering this movie that's about a woman superhero, and people to just be, ooh, so you don't care what we think? It's like, actually, like, not really. Like, I've started just telling people that, like, oh, so you don't care? No, actually, I don't care. Like, I really don't. And I'm allowed not to care, and you're allowed to think I'm a shitty person for not caring, and like we can part and go our separate ways, never to meet again. But I'm okay with it. I'm not like, oh, this person doesn't think I'm nice. It's like that I only care about what certain people think of me, not what everybody thinks of me.
And I think we would have more people admitting they like things if more people thought like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'd be on here talking about embarrassing stuff all the time. All my teenage shows. I just finished one last night.
Which one?
On Netflix called The Last Bus.
The Last Bus.
It's kind of weird. It's a sci-fi one though. It's a British one. And then, you know what I watched? You know what I binged? The Orville. Much better than I thought.
Yes.
You know what? Other Jeff just told me, like, hey, as soon as you finish Star Trek, check out the Orville. Seth MacFarlane was really funny on this one, and he got it right.
He got it right.
Oh yeah, dude, that show is freaking hilarious.
I think of the Orville as I've replaced the Enterprise series in my mind now with the Orville. That is now the bridge between Original Star. That's now my Star Trek like prequel. Because I think it was I was like, I'm gonna just check it out because I didn't realize like my homegirl was in it who played. Well, she was in Friday Night Lights. She was supposed to be Wonder Woman, and then the show got canceled. Like
Pilecki?
yeah, she's in it, and so I was like, all right. And the lady who plays Cassidy Yates in Deep Space Nine is on the show also. But it's good. It's like not that much Seth MacFarlane, so you know, it's just a lot of him like walking in room. It's a lot of scenes ending with people saying stuff and walking out, and then him looking at people like. It's just like a lot of that. But the show is funny. Even my wife, who's not a Star Trek person, was like, this is the most like accurate Star Trek like parody adaptation I've like ever seen. Because she's seen a lot of Star Trek, obviously being married to me, even though she's not a fan.
Doesn't have to be a fan. Like my wife could tell you all the time. I've heard my wife correct people on characters about different stuff just because she's heard me go on and on and on about it. And I'm gonna tell you, one of the proudest moments was I heard my wife say to somebody, well, weakness and vulnerable aren't the same thing. I was like, oh, that's why I married you. Weakness and vulnerable are not the same thing. I was like, look at you.
Either way, it's an ass whooping. One
is an ass whooping you can't recover from, and one is an ass whooping that you might barely be affected by. Okay, so I got something here. Buddy of mine, shout out to Lawrence Jeffords. Lawrence Jeffords was out shopping the other day, and we had a conversation. And Lawrence likes to get collectibles, and he's a big fan of collectibles. And we were talking, and I was saying how he was telling about this new series that was coming out, and how they were going to be all popular and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh man, that would be so cool. I had those when they first came out. So there was a 1980s toy line based on the Super Friends cartoon. The Super Friends cartoon, which you can find it on USA, you can find it random channels, like it came on with Scooby-Doo and stuff like that. And I want to say they were originally made by Kenner. They were, I want to say it was like 1983, 84, somewhere around there.
If it was at that time, it probably was Kenner.
Yeah, I think it was. I feel like it was made by Kenner, and they were all kind of based on the Super Friends cartoon. So you have Challenge of the Super Friends, and then you just have Super Friends, and you've got Marvin, Wendy, the little humans that run around with superheroes for some reason, because who the hell's letting random ass kids run around with the superheroes?
Batman.
Well, I mean, got to keep a rabbit on deck. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know when you
need the human shield.
Never know when you need a meat puppet, a meat shield to just throw it.
I'm on you, Batman. I'm on your head, Batman.
But the other McFarlane, Todd McFarlane, is launching or is in charge. I'm not sure what his actual role is, but they are re-releasing the Superpowers collection, the toy line that was originally done in the early 80s by Kenner, and Lawrence sent me something. So, without further ado, Jeff, this was just for you. We're going to start off with...
Thank you. A Black Green Lantern.
We got our John Stewart Green Lantern here. And
that ain't from the old show.
Right. Well, the funny thing is, this one actually it has, so being the old action figure, so of course it's got the little blurb on the back, and this one actually does say John Stewart.
Yeah.
And so, just so no one can be confused, John Stewart, a former U.S. Marine, uses his military training and discipline to protect Earth and the rest of Space Sector 2814 as a member of the intergalactic peacekeeping force known as the Green Lantern Corps. There has more information, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. But that was the very first one that he was able to get his hands on for me. So thank you so much. Love it.
You know that one wasn't from back in the day because all the black superheroes back in the day had to have black in they
had to have black in their name and lightning powers. Because you had what was it, Black Tornado, and he was the black guy on that show.
Yeah,
and he had like it wasn't even Black Lightning. That's the crazy part about it. But so that was our Green Lantern to start. I mean, you couldn't do one without having Batman.
Of course, he got to be in there somewhere.
Right, like you can't do anything DC and not talk about Batman. And I'm surprised they didn't say pearls and gun, but on his blurb, as a child, Bruce Wayne watched as his parents were brutally killed in Gotham City's crime alley.
This is a toy.
Right, it's right there. Brutally killed in Gotham City's crime alley. So here's, you know what? That's a sidebar. But like, was it called Crime Alley before they got killed or after they got killed? Because I'm kind of looking at Thomas Wayne like, bruh, why would you go down?
That's how you know Thomas Wayne was shady. Because ain't no rich man who don't feel like he made and is untouchable gonna walk down that alley. And the only way you can feel untouchable in this alley. Only way you can feel untouchable in a city like Gotham is if you're a criminal.
They've touched on it many, many times. But there we go. We've got our Batman. Because you can't do a collection of superheroes and figures without a Batman.
I mean, you can. It just wouldn't be a good collection.
They'd be up in arms about it. Well, you guys just imagine you're not rich like Batman. Like, oh yeah.
And of course, should be no surprise.
Oh, we already know. I was waiting on it. I'm surprised that one went first.
No, the John Stewart was a big deal. The John Stewart was a big deal for me. Because this will be like the
1000 Superman.
Right. This is like, Superman number 15 or some shit. Like Superman action figure. Oh, let's see. 1, 2, 3.
We are not going to count all of those.
5, 6, 7.
Sometimes I wonder, like, what the aliens are thinking when they're like watching this.
Would we count pops or no? Because I'm up to 12 and I haven't even counted the pops yet.
No.
Okay, so there's 12.
Just regular dolls.
13, 14, 15, 16. 17. Okay, so there's 17 action figures, and he makes number 18.
Congratulations, man. I'm really happy for you and Superman.
So, of course, this one has sent to Earth from a dying planet of Krypton. As a baby, Kal-El was found by farmers Martha and Jonathan Kent and raised as their son Clark.
You know what's funny though? If DC don't get their shit together, they gonna be the ones where they superheroes are not the household names anymore.
Like they kind of not now.
I mean, Batman and Superman still more household than like Iron Man and Captain America, I think. But
they're gaining fast.
They have closed the gap. And it looks like it's one of those where it's like they're still closing the gap, and you trying to figure out how to run faster, and
You thought
you
that
just don't
slow
have,
and steady was going to win the race?
yeah.
All right, watch this. You know what? The tortoise going to win eventually. And I feel
Everybody's
like
slow and steady. Everybody's slow and steady, not the same.
But they go DC's gonna come out of left field with something.
if it ain't Black Adam, I don't know what.
Well, it was Shazam, and then they just pushed that back.
I don't know. Maybe we're all gonna. You know what? It's funny. It's funny. It's funny. And I'm glad you're here just so I can make this comment and watch you react. They're saying the first screenings of the Flash movie.
I saw this BS.
Do you not think it's possible?
Possible to what?
Do you think it's possible for the Flash movie, regardless of the actor, for the Flash movie to actually be a knockout?
Good. Yeah. Here's the thing about me and Flash and Flashpoint. I have always been against Flashpoint being used in this way. I've never said that I don't think they're going to make they don't think it's possible for them to make a good movie. I still have my doubts about whether he's playing Barry Allen or Wally West. I think what we've seen him as thus far has been technically Wally West's character, because it kind of looks like he just watched the Justice League cartoon, which I'm not mad at.
Right.
But that was Wally West in the cartoon as well, which they confirmed in one of the episodes. So it's I think he got assigned the wrong homework, and then it's well, of course you're not going to pass the test. But
he was in the right book, studied the wrong chapter.
Yeah, but it's also never mind. But yeah, it's kind of just Flashpoint is an interesting story. It was a great comic. It was a great animated movie, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be a great film. But are we using it in the right way? Are we giving it the respect that it deserves? And in my opinion, just using it to reset your universe because you screwed up and you want to change dating partners of who's going to be running your universe. That's not a good enough reason to Flashpoint to me is just not a throwaway story. So I'm more frustrated by the treatment of it than the actual execution of it. It might be good. I hope it is. Even though I felt like they using it as a cop-out, I still hope it's good. Because if it's not, now we're gonna have to really, really reset this shit.
I mean, the benefit that exists only doing cinematically, because everybody's not watching the Flash TV show. And I find it hard to believe. Well, I'm not going to say I find it hard to believe because some people aren't interested in one over the other. People go to the theater for the theater experience. Everybody hasn't been watching Arrow, Legends, Flash. They haven't been following that series the same way. And it's got a lot of seasons, so if they decide suddenly they want to get into it, they got some homework to do. They've already done a really good job, bless you, done a really good job of establishing their multiverse and everything in Flash. All the different worlds. We have the Council of Harrison or the Council of Wells. They have all these different elements that indicate a full-on multiverse. The only benefit I see at this stage, while I agree with you as far as the treatment, and we've had a number of discussions as far as the improper treatment, and perhaps even going as far as to say
blatant disrespect.
That's literally what I was going to say. Blatant disrespect, and the fact that they haven't, the DCEU has not earned Flashpoint. I think that was, if I'm quoting you correctly, they have not earned Flashpoint
at all.
And so for them to come and use Flashpoint in this case as a reset tool, whereas when it was done originally, it was used more as a universe creation tool.
Think about it like this. What if so when we did the Infinity Saga, what if they did the Infinity instead of Avengers 1 being about Loki and opening his eyes, getting Thanos' like attention on the universe. What if they did all that and tried to just fight Thanos in the first Avengers movie, and he like snaps and like makes a whole bunch of people we don't care about disappear? It's like that's exactly what they did with that's what they're doing with Flashpoint. It feels like it's like y'all made a bunch of mistakes, and rather than like just owning up to it and doing it right, y'all are just trying to like salvage it. It feels like on those like, have you ever watched that baking show, Nailed It, where it's like
Yeah.
and you know when like the clock is like running down and stuff is like tipping over, and they're just like, oh, we'll just stick a thing in here and we'll move it here and then mush this together just so it'll stand up. And then like it feels like that's how they like built the universe. And then when you pull the thing up, it's like the cake looks nothing like the thing, and everybody's laughing except you think this is British Bake Off, and you actually are trying to make something like serious that people want to eat. Like you don't really like, you're not on a joke show, you know, but you're making like joke show cake. And, like, that's
like you're the only person that doesn't know that you're being laughed at.
Yeah. And then that person comes in and is like, I want to make like a 10-layer wedding cake. It's like, ma'am, you couldn't even make like a pound cake.
With a preformed bun.
Exactly.
All you had to do was mix, pour, bake, flip. It's funny. I remember watching Adam Ruins Everything, and it was saying that the like the Betty, was it Duncan Hines or Betty Crocker, whichever one like came out first. That company, the only reason they included eggs in the mixture was when people were using the pre-made cake mix, using the box cake mix, by cracking an egg and adding it to the mixture, it made them feel like they were actually cooking.
It's a psychological shit, man.
That was the marketing angle for it.
They're all mind effing.
I mean that kind of makes sense, because honestly, one of those pre-made mixes, all I gotta do is add water to it, and I'm like, I didn't do anything. I didn't bake this. I just added some water and tossed it in the oven.
Bingo.
Baked it.
But because you have to crack an egg and stir, oh well, now you're actually cooking. See, because there's real ingredients included.
Slaving in the kitchen, man.
But the eggs are optional, so just so you know. But I thought that was pretty funny.
So I grew up with my grandmother, so I didn't have very many Duncan Hines cakes.
Hey, we got a pirate in the mix. Go ahead and bring him on. I just happened to look up and saw we had comments. What's going on, man?
What's up, y'all?
What's up, Jeff?
Guys,
Oh, man,
I got to tell you, I'm sorry I missed the rest of the call, but that was one of the best dinner shows I have ever been to.
tell me about
You
it. So
seem
what happened?
pumped up.
Right, like you came in with a lot of energy. Share some of that. Tell
Oh
me
my
about it.
gosh. Like, I'll post it to the group and to my regular Facebook page, but I've been to medieval times before, and you kind of sit back from the action,
Right.
because they got to have room for the horses and stuff.
Right.
They had seals and birds, and I was literally like 20 feet from the water. And fire juggling, mermaids, sword fights, ultraviolet stuff. Dude, it was unbelievable. It was amazing. And the food was good too. Like,
oh, well, then there you go.
Yeah, fried chicken, baked potato, corn on the cob, some soup, a biscuit, peach turnover. So good service. Like they've got that down. Like you can tell it's a tourist place for Pigeon Forge, because like it was like clockwork.
Huh.
So easily, if you ever come up here, I highly recommend. That's one stop you have to make.
I've been to Pigeon Forge like 3 times. I'm like, what is this place called?
Well, they've got it's Pirates is what it's called. Pirates. They have one in Myrtle Beach. They have one here, and then they have other dinner shows like Hatfield and McCoy's, which I'm not interested in seeing. And then they have a Stampede one where they do a whole bunch of lasso tricks and horse tricks and stuff like that. So I was blown away. That was unbelievable. So easily one of the top 10 dinner experience. I've done some murder mystery stuff. I've done medieval times. I've done a couple different ones. That's easily takes the cake. Like the rest are here. It's up here. So it was amazing. So,
that actually sounds really cool. I've actually never been to medieval times. I've been to the Ren Fest dozens of times. You know what I'm saying? And I actually
missed it last year.
I was about to say I missed the last one. Don't make that
Well,
face.
Go next year.
I missed it too.
The one in Fairburn.
Yeah.
The subdivision I live in is like literally across the street from it.
Oh.
So next year when you come through, a little sippy.
For sure. Say less. That you know what? That just confirmed. We can go ahead and buy the tickets now. Then that's done. Then.
So what I missed though, because like for once I'm actually caught up on my shows. I've seen She-Hulk. I've seen House of Dragons. I'm almost done with Orville. I've been watching Ozark. I've been watching all kinds of stuff here lately. So
I was just talking about the Orville. I just finished it the other day.
I'm at the beginning of season 3, so I told Sam about it. Like now that he's started his Star Trek journey, but I honestly think that you have to watch a little Star Trek to really appreciate some of the jokes.
Definitely. Sam, what Star Trek are you watching?
Deep Space.
Okay, how is that going?
It's going.
It's
struggling a little bit.
It's going.
It's a tough one to start with.
Did you finish Voyager?
That's like starting reading with like War and Peace.
Oh no! That's Voyager is the one that I'm watching with Janeway.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Are you still in the Are you still in the part where like the Maquis and the regular crew are like fighting?
They've actually no. Some of the Maquis are now like officers and stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're like officers, but like there's still like the tension of like, do I trust you? Especially with like, I mean, that goes on for a while with like Belanda Torres.
Yeah, I was about to say Torres is still kind of a jerk, but you know.
I mean, if I remember correctly, that never stops.
Yeah. Except for like the one episode.
But she's also, isn't she like half Klingon or something?
Yeah, she's half Klingon, half human.
So I mean, she's always going to be kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
No, she softens though. There's like episodes. There's like I don't want to spoil what happens, but there's an
she
episode.
She goes full Worf and it gets soft. Worf has to be like I don't know. Worf redeems himself at some point, right?
What do you mean?
So are you watching more than just Voyager? Are you watching Deep Space Nine or Next Generation or anything? Or
once I get through this one, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna check out the other ones. Like I said, I've watched a lot of episodes of Next Generation, but in no like particular order. It's just one of those things like, oh, I finished something, Star Trek came on after it. I'm not gonna turn it off. It's on, and there it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Next Generation is a no particular order show.
Right, and that's the thing. I don't think there was not like every once in a while there'd be like a 2 or 3 parter. You'd have to kind of watch this episode to follow through,
and that was typically the season finale and the season premiere.
Yeah,
there was
stuff like that.
Crazy thinking about it now.
Do what?
I said, which is crazy to me thinking about it now. Because what made me think about that too earlier is when we were talking about the X-Files. And there was the one season finale where the train blew up and we didn't know if Mulder was on it or not. And I was like watching, and I was watching it on Netflix. And then the next episode was like season 5, episode 1. I was like, wait, people had to wait a whole summer to know if Mulder blew up. I would have
Let me tell you something, man. It used to be like, again, we're just so spoiled. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I would have been
the closest present day analogy you can probably draw is the Infinity War saga, like in game and having to wait.
Even then, it was like, oh, they're gonna with something like Star Trek. You could
Some
easily
people
be
were
like,
mad.
oh no. No, I'm sure there were people that were mad. There
Like
was a lot of people that were mad.
the people who are in our circle where we actually watch comic book stuff and we read comics, we like knew. But like the people who like are experiencing these stories for the first time on screen, they didn't know people was gonna come
No,
back.
I'm gonna tell you the funniest experience I have with a sequel. So my wife and I used to have a tradition because one of the things we've always done together, we've always like gone to the movies. We love going to the movies, love watching movies. And back in the day, that would be our thing. So it was like dinner and a movie was just Tuesday because we had time. It wasn't like date night kind of thing. And so for a few years, we were going to the movies on Christmas. And that would just be like our Christmas night. That would be the thing we do on Christmas. So Lord of the Rings comes out and goes to the theater. My wife's like all excited. She wants to see it. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that as a kid. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna go check it out. We get to the end of the first movie and the credits roll, and we're like, wait a minute. What the fuck? Like, this isn't even the rest of the story. Oh my god, like what? Because all we've done is watch Fellowship of the Ring. And like that movie ends, they're like on the side of the mountain just walking. We have no idea that this is about to be a whole trilogy of movies. Didn't even know at the time it was a trilogy of books. Because when I was a kid, I didn't read those books as a kid. I don't know about this. Like now I know a little bit more about all the other stories and stuff like that go along with it. But at the time, I remembered very vaguely watching like a Ralph Bakshi version of The Hobbit and a fever dream half animated, half live action version of Lord of the Rings. That's what I remember as a kid. And I remember like that thing with The Hobbit was so cool. And like now they're about to do a whole movie, Lord of the Rings, and J.R.R. Tolkien. That's a big thing. Everybody knows that. Oh, like, oh, Tolkien. Oh, but wife and I are excited to see the movie. We left the theater like completely dumbfounded, looking just sick, looking crazy because like we didn't know it was a trilogy, and somebody in the theater was like, we were literally walking out there and kind of complaining about it. Like, how the hell would they just end the movie like that? That's so crazy. Like, I can't even imagine. Why would you waste? I was like, oh no, don't worry. There's 2 more movies. The next one comes out next year. Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Okay, yeah, because I was a little confused. What the hell? Okay, yeah. That had to be the funniest experience I have with like a cliffhanger. Just like, what the hell? I gotta wait a whole year for the next movie to come out? Oh my god. And not even knowing at the time when we left the theater not knowing that there was another movie. I thought that was the end. It was so sad. So sad in retrospect. But even with like, thank you. Thank you. I'm not the only one. I know when that movie first came out, I was not the only person.
A lot of people felt like that about The Matrix too. Like there were people who didn't know there was like a third Matrix. And when the second one went off, it was like pandemonium in the theater.
Now that I can see, because I remember thinking something like that. I was like, this is how they're going to finish it. And then I realized a couple days later they were going to make another one. But Lord of the Rings, I knew going into it that there were going to be multiple movies. It's too big of a story to tell in just 2.5 hours, 3 hours.
But see, that's the thing. You're also sitting in the theater for 3 hours unexpectedly. And you're like,
you got to turn around and use that drink cup for something else towards the end of the movie.
Right. But it's like you get to.
If your movie is more than 2.5 hours, you should have an intermission.
Like, I agree.
I mean, they used to do it. Ben-Hur has an intermission. Shit, like people got to pee, man.
Ben-Hur like 4.5 hours though. That's a little different.
Have you ever tried to sit down and watch the extended versions of them?
Of Ben-Hur?
No, of Lord of the Rings. No.
I was like, who in the hell is doing that?
I'm talking about the extended.
What could they possibly have cut from that movie? Like everything is in it.
Now, I will say, I think the only movie that I can think of that comes to mind that surprised me with the length was Bad Boys 2. because it gets to a certain point and you're like, they get in the movie there.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
like
it went on for like another hour.
yeah,
A whole bunch more stuff happened. I was like, hell yeah.
that's mine. Where it's like, even though I know the first Bad Boys is a better cinema film, I like Bad Boys 2 better because it's just a much better time. Like you're comfortable with the characters; they're much more themselves. Nobody's trying to be all sexy and shit. It's just
Gabrielle Union's in that movie. Just speak for yourself, bro.
She wasn't trying to be sexy. She just is sexy.
She just was.
So,
There's
Did
difference.
you ever read who that movie was originally written for?
Her role?
No, the movie like Bad Boys, like the original script was a comedy for. It was like it was two SNL dudes. What's the guy who's like, I'm the guy who always talks like this?
Phil Lamar?
No.
I didn't know that. I know that the white chick from Bad Boys 1 and Gabrielle Union from Bad Boys 2 were crushes of mine back in the day.
John Lovitz.
So
Wow.
I didn't know that.
It was like John Lovitz and Dana Carvey or something.
Oh wow.
Bro, that
No.
movie would not have been as good. There's no
Yeah.
way.
Bad Boys originally planned to star John Lovitz and Dana Carvey.
There is no way.
I don't even know that
it's
that
good.
movie. We won't even say as good. I don't know that movie would have been good.
Well, it was
Exactly.
it was clearly a completely different movie.
Clearly.
It sounds like the case of like somebody wrote a comedy for them called Bad Boys, and then somebody else wrote the Will Smith, Martin Lawrence Bad Boys, or they like punched it up and made it like grittier and darker, and was just like,
We have to
bother writing
recast this now.
movie. Yeah, because that happens all the time. They like bring in a different writer, and it's like, oh, this isn't like a slapstick comedy. This is now like just kind of a sexy black comedy.
Right.
And
See, now I can picture that working with something like The Other Guys.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
kind of what I was
I can see
thinking.
Dana Carvey and John Lovitz doing The Other Guys type movie.
but it's probably like the original script for Bad Boys was probably closer to The Other Guys than
Right.
what we ended up seeing. Like I'm sure like there was no plans for John Lovitz or Dana Carvey to be like running with the open shirt through the streets of Miami.
I don't know,
no.
man. Dana
I
Carvey,
hope not.
he's here to pump you up.
You will not believe me later.
Right.
I dressed up as Hans and Franz for Halloween one year. That was fun. That's one of the few voices I can do. So I went around the whole night.
Gray
You will not
sweats.
believe me later, little man. I will pump you up.
With the flabby muscles.
With the flabby muscles. But what I miss, because like House of Dragons was awesome. I love She-Hulk. Although, can I just say that the snack hack from She-Hulk is my main takeaway? The
Now, my main
post-credit scene.
takeaway is Captain America. Well,
I was about to say, and the post-credit scene.
yeah,
It's
I
like, but we
literally-
already knew
I
that.
laughed out loud
Right,
when,
like,
when she did
that
that.
was
Like,
not a look. This is how I knew everything was straight. When my man said, like, "Oh, you've been gone a long time. Want to talk about it?" I don't think I will. It's some shit he can't talk about. He done did some stuff.
Well, even when in Winter Soldier, when they were like in the mall and she kissed him, so the like security guard would like
Right.
walk by, and then she would say something about like that's your like first kiss since 1947. He was just like, it was not my first kiss since 1947. I was like, oh,
Right.
that was in the streets. Either
He
that, or
got out. He done
either
got out.
that, or he was in that nursing home. If we keep him in the book.
Hey, he had nowhere else to go for a minute, so.
I mean, the
Same.
Sharon thing was also weird.
yeah.
Weird-ish.
It's weirder now because you went back.
Alabama Cousins, man. I felt like Alabama Cousins on that one. So
See, the thing is, no. I think
Here's,
if you date,
here's why it's
if you
weird.
date the auntie and the niece, that's a cougar and a kitten.
I was
It's
gonna
Totally.
say,
No,
there's
no.
whole channels on certain
here's why-
sites devoted to that kind of stuff. So
Here's why it's weird now because Cap, okay, when he was young in his timeline, he did his thing with Sharon, right? The same Cap then goes back in time, lives a whole life with Peggy. At some point, Sharon is born,
So it's
and you're looking at this little baby.
I feel like you just made it weird, but no, I'm
I
with you
didn't
now.
make- I didn't
I'm
make
with you. No, I'm with you
I'm
now.
explaining what the scenario is.
I'm with you now. I'm with you
Like,
now.
unless Sharon is like a niece or a cousin who like never ever comes over, and you never
No,
ever
'cause
ever see them,
she
cool. But it seemed like her and Peggy was close.
right. She talks about, but see, at the same time, it's okay. Here's why it works, and here's how to make it work. The Ancient One tells us that when that change is made, a new timeline is created.
Okay, but still, he knows
There may not be a Sharon in that timeline.
Okay.
That could be that's what makes that timeline the variant. Because think and not being funny, but like think about it. If our Cap,
If there is no Sharon, then it creates a paradox because Sharon helps them.
okay, so you're thinking Back to the Future rules.
But it's not Back to the Future rules.
It's not Back to the Future rules. It's Dragon Ball Z rules. The timeline that's here is not affected. When he goes back to drop off the stones, it doesn't change what happens. It doesn't change what has already happened.
Yeah.
Any change that is made can only affect the changes in that timeline. Because the timelines they go to are all technically parallel universes and not the same, like the quantum realm. It touches over and it's like those are all like.
I thought the whole point was they were going back to put the Infinity Stones in the exact place where they got them from, so that they don't disrupt the timeline and create like
so that they don't disrupt those timelines.
Correct. And because he doesn't go back after he has placed the stones, he doesn't go back, and at that point, a new timeline is created.
So maybe she doesn't exist.
In that
That's
timeline,
a big maybe, dog. That's a big maybe.
In that timeline. And I mean it is a baby.
That's a big maybe. Actually, we know she still exists.
Well, look,
we know she still exists because she's in Winter Soldier. She's in Winter Soldier and Falcon.
But see, you're still talking about
this. Old man, that's the same timeline with Old Man Captain America.
But Old Man Captain,
he's in a timeline where this is the same one that he actually was with. The reality is, this Captain America knows that he was with Sharon Carter, and there is now a little baby Sharon Carter
somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they never really said that he married Peggy or anything like that. Maybe they went their separate ways after a while.
Actually, I don't remember anything other than a kiss with Sharon.
So
that's what they showed us.
That was on screen. We're talking about what happened off screen when Cap was in the streets.
I get that.
So,
because there was a conversation that they had after the funeral. There was a conversation where he was basically like, did you ever tell your aunt about us? And she was like, Aunt Peggy had her secrets. I felt it was probably fair that we have ours too. Because they was living in the same building. I think they was trying to frame it like they didn't really like know each other, but he was hitting that. Come on, dog.
Okay. I'm not saying he's not.
Like all we talking about in the last like year is Captain America's ass, like, and how irresistible it is. Like, it's only so many times she gonna bring that basket of laundry up and down the stairs before he say what's up.
Bumping the elevator.
Been since 1947.
Nah, I think like the way they kind of like introduced Peggy and like not Peggy, but Sharon, like showed her, got her in, got her out real quick to establish who she was and the fact that she was S.H.I.E.L.D. at the time, you know what I'm saying, when he found out. Then a little bit after that, when Peggy dies, you know what I'm saying, she was the one that kind of like, she was there at the funeral and she talks about her Aunt Peggy and whatnot. And it's actually at the funeral where she's talking about Aunt Peggy. Sometime after that is when she gets the shield and everything. She gets the shield and she gets the wings and she has them in the trunk of the car. And
It's a
then
goodbye kiss of two lovers who don't know if they're gonna see each other again.
that was from him to her. Now, if anything, I would say it would have to be weird at that point because it's like, okay, did you actually bury Peggy in the same movie? And now you like, okay, all right. So
That was weird too, but it was also like it had been 55 years and he was frozen in ice and all these extenuating circumstances. That's weird, but it's less weird than it's less weird than Peggy's brother walking in like, here, meet baby Sharon. It's just less weird.
I just have the whole Loki meme in my head where he's like, oh, that's really sad. Anyway, like
actually
Peggy died, but all right. So
no,
hey
Tosh,
Sharon.
Daniel Tosh just came in my head, and I'm not gonna tell you the joke. Remind me later. It's like one day, like the baby between David Beckham and Brad Pitt. It's a beautiful baby. Just don't look that up, people. I apologize for that. I shouldn't have put that in your heads.
But I give She-Hulk a solid 7 out of 10 premiere. Like it was good. I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the cameos. I'm looking forward to seeing some more people.
Yeah.
You know, most of these shows, like when Sharon came into Winter Soldier, the series Winter Soldier, or whatever, she was in there for what? Maybe 10 minutes of screen time total. They talked about her. They talked about her a lot. Mm-hmm. But
3
on
episodes.
screen, she was on there for like 10 minutes. First episode of She-Hulk, Hulk was there like the whole time. Like hanging out, chilling. Mm-hmm. So that gives me hope when they're talking about bringing in Daredevil and Abomination and some of these other people. I'm like, all right, cool. They're not just going to pop in, hit somebody, and out they go.
I also like just that it's a different like tonal perspective in the Marvel universe. Like this is what we was talking about earlier, where they're like, yeah, we're gonna make a show about She-Hulk, and she's gonna basically be like Zach Morris, where she's just like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm like coasting through. Or Ferris Bueller, basically, but now with like superpowers. But I'm gonna look the camera. I'm like go with the flow, easy peasy, blah blah blah. And like when people try to put all these rules on me, like I'm not down. But when I gotta jump into action, you know, I'll do what needs to be done. It's just like an interesting like. So you get all these like really interesting like tonal shifts when you watch like Marvel stuff that makes the universe feel more complete. Because now you can think about like when you think about DC characters and when they meet, it's just like, all right, so who's gonna win the fight? But with Marvel characters, it's like, are they gonna get along? Like, how are they gonna push each other's buttons? Because like this person's annoying in this way, and that person doesn't.
Are they even gonna fight?
I've read enough She-Hulk that I'm just curious who she's gonna sleep with first. Because the girl has slept with quite a few people in the comics. She's had quite a few relationships over the years with various major Marvel players. So it'd be interesting to see if any of that makes it into the show.
I mean, they've already kind of like in one of the major trends, they've already shown that she's going to fully embrace her She-Hulkness and will not shy away from enjoying herself. I think it's probably going to just depend on who the cameo characters are. You know what I'm saying? Like Matt Murdock's power set doesn't really do anything for him in this situation. It doesn't give him an advantage or help him any. I don't know. Matt Murdock can also take some abuse. Like that dude gets his ass beat regularly and gets up.
At the same time, Matt Murdock is a lawyer.
No. I get why he's showing up, but to Jeff's point of like who she gonna sleep with first, I'm like, it kind of depends on who these cameos are gonna be. Because like if Jennifer gets with Matt, okay, fine, maybe. But that's not the part that I think is gonna be interesting. And I think what we're gonna end up seeing with this is we're gonna get a Mary Marvel scenario where she starts becoming addicted to being She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Initially, she's like, I don't want to be She-Hulk. I don't have to be a Hulk. She jumps in. fights the one girl. Everybody applauds, everybody cheers. And then, of course, we also know that the lawyer boss, like the partner or whatever, he's going to be like, we want you to head up this department. And of course, they want to make She-Hulk the face of said department. So it'll be more advantageous for her to just stay in She-Hulk form. And the longer she does that, in her case, since there's no other hand on the steering wheel, it's still her. There's no downside to it. But at the same time, there's also going to be that aspect of she starts becoming a little bit addicted to that persona. And as that persona starts to stick, that could be maybe problematic somehow. And we're going to watch that journey of self and learning that, she was always good enough. And now she has to find that balance. They kind of like made it seem like, oh, she got that balance super easy at the beginning of the first episode, because she has like justifiable reason of why she can control her anger, hell of a line. But because of that, I think the part where there's not two personalities, because she doesn't have like, Bruce Banner was abused as a child, you know what I'm saying? And that person in his head was the Hulk. So once he had all the other stuff happen, basically his personality split. He's got like a severe case of DID, which is why if Bruce tries to commit suicide, the Hulk stops it. He refers to it as being two different people. With She-Hulk, since she's just the one person all the time, she's Jennifer. Even when she's She-Hulk, she's still Jennifer. We will probably see she will regress less and less and less over time, where she initially starts off, boom, she can go She-Hulk, she can be normal. She can go She-Hulk, she can be normal. And I think we're going to see a scenario where, this one ended up getting like, what, 8 episodes or so?
I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to say like by the 4th episode, she's like all She-Hulk all the time. And now it's like, okay, you need to rate it in. You're not the same person, and that's where we're going to see her character arc and her growth come from. Otherwise, it would just be, now it's cool if it's just like fun and great the whole time, but it's Marvel. We got to get some character development also.
Mm.
It already has a lighter tone than the Winter Soldier series did.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely gives Thor Ragnarok vibes. There's enough comedy spaced in there, good jokes, but then she has a couple good serious lines too. They're really like you said about the controlling the rage and stuff. There were some good ones that I was like, okay, all right.
I mean, I would say the only.
I don't know, man. I don't really like when women start talking about being mad. Like men have to control their anger. You
should smile more. Oh, what's wrong? That's smiling.
Look, I'm not being heard right now.
It's like I'm oppressed because she didn't smile the whole episode. That's the kind of crap that's probably going to pop out at some point. Hopefully, it doesn't derail the show and it doesn't really become a factor, because I enjoyed the first episode. I'm with you. I'll say I'll even go. I'll go 7.5. Actually, no, I'll go 8. I will go 8 because I enjoyed the show. And the things that I had gripes about are not specific to Miss Marvel. They're just gripes from Marvel. Not Miss Marvel, from She-Hulk. These are not gripes against She-Hulk or that episode. These are just gripes against Marvel. What they're doing with the Hulk. The way they've completely nerfed the Hulk all the way down. Now, I will say that we all know that there is a difference in strength because he's not full Hulk rage. He gets mad enough, he could be World Breaker Hulk. But in this case, he's keeping half Hulk, half Banner. This Hulk, not as strong. I saw some complaints about, like, when he punched the big space worm in the first Avengers, it didn't move, and now he was getting moved by a truck. Moved by the Jeep. But also, he wasn't really trying to stop the Jeep. So
right, he was trying to talk to her. He wasn't actually. I agree with that. He wasn't really trying. He was just more trying to talk.
I think it's just one of those things, though, where it's like, have they nerfed the Hulk, or have they created a scenario where they now have a character who can choose the way he wants to present. And so how you were talking about like Hulk has the other hand on the wheel, I think, you know, when you're watching Ragnarok, that journey is really all about like the battle between the two, and then you
Right.
come back around and you see like Endgame and or whatever, and it's like they found that like balance.
Right.
And
And
he can
absolutely.
still go like full Hulk, although like just things ain't been the same since Thanos.
Pieced him up. Yeah, like
Yeah.
he's not feeling because
Like-
even then, like we saw where Hulk didn't even want to come out.
Yep, that motherfucker said
When
no.
he was in Hulkbuster, right? You know what I'm saying? When he was in Hulkbuster armor, so it's like, no, I'm not. I do say nerfed in the context of like they've been doing that with the character for some time.
All right, here's my
Granted-
question. Here's my question. This is what I want to ask. Because like I'm not like a big Hulk guy. Like I'm not big on characters in general that are just like punchy make punchy, right? Like
Right.
so I guess I would like to hear from like the Hulk fans who are upset at how the character has been nerfed. Like, what are you getting out of like just punchy Hulk? Because to me, like when I see Smart Hulk, it's like, okay, this is like an interesting like character, and I like listening what they have to say, but also they have some of the strong stuff. Whereas like, you know, the most interesting thing about the regular Hulk to me is like, is he gonna slap Black Widow when she's like, sun's getting real low, big guy? Like, is it gonna work this time? Or is it not? Like that was, other than that, it was just like, okay, he's gonna smash some stuff. He's gonna sling Loki around like a rag doll, and all right, let's go to some like people who actually have the capacity for character development. But maybe I'm just seeing the Hulk all wrong, and so
No. I mean, like, well, go ahead.
Well,
I talk a lot. So.
First off, I was going to say you can't tell me you didn't laugh when he tossed Loki around like a rag doll.
oh yeah, that's
Oh,
hilarious.
It was great.
And to me,
Good God.
I do appreciate the Smart Hulk. I understand he's not as strong, but it's the fact that Banner and Hulk have actually found a way to work together to not be the crazy, insane rage monster.
Right.
So it's you've got that rage and that intelligence combined. I don't see it as it being nerfed. I see it as Banner being enhanced.
That's what I feel too. I feel he's a better character and a better, I guess, has a capacity to be a better superhero in this present state. But I feel like this is like what Hulk seems like he's working towards in the comic the whole time. And it's like now that he has it, everybody's like, nah, I don't like that.
Well, and okay, so let me address that specifically.
Which is fine.
No. And okay, so
it's like kombucha girl.
No. Check it out. Here's the difference, and this is the only reason I say nerfed. The character of Smart Hulk is a different version of the Hulk altogether.
Yeah, Amadeus Cho, right?
No.
Okay.
Bruce Banner has okay, so he's got these different personalities. Like he's got the Joe Fix-It personality, he's got the Smart Hulk personality. But then he has like just Hulk. So if you think of like Green Hulk, Gray Hulk, Joe Fix-It, you know, there's these different characters that the Hulk is. Now, all of them are like a class 10 strength as far as the Marvel meter. It's still Hulk. Don't get it twisted. And even as he showed, he like picked up the rock. He's like, you know, so it's like da. He like tosses the rock. We see her put forth a little effort. She tosses, and it goes a little further. And he immediately like, oh, what? Shit was in orbit. It's still Hulk.
Fire. It caught
Right.
fire.
Like, it's still Hulk, and I get that part. But the evolution of the character itself, World Breaker Hulk, there was no Banner. When they banished Hulk and he got sent to Sakaar, that Hulk eventually, like, what's the right word? It absorbed Banner. And even when we saw, like, so every time we've seen Hulk prior to Ragnarok, it was like 1-2 word sentences, very basic understanding. Like you could probably teach a gorilla sign language and be more advanced than Hulk's level of understanding. For him, this good, that bad, smash. You know what I'm saying? Very basic.
Right.
When we get to Ragnarok, he's been Hulk for some time, like, you know, for like 3 years now, or 2 years or whatever. He's having whole conversations. He's having thoughts. He's completing sentences, but he's remaining the Hulk. When he stayed on Sakaar and you go through like the World Breaker saga, that Hulk eventually got all of Branner's capability. So you can have smart Hulk and full, like, I'm pissed off all the time and can like punch shit out of orbit Hulk.
Now, what will be cool to me is if, like, when he tossed the rock and she tossed the rock and then he tossed it into orbit, will be interesting to see if there's some more play of that nature, because it was like old Hulk woke up for a second. It was like, oh, she gonna throw that? Oh, hold on 1 second. Let me just show you how it's done.
Right.
So,
and it's like he got a little angry and like trying to keep himself in check. And I wonder how that plays it. I fully acknowledge that it is a balance of Banner and Hulk, and that is the smart Hulk we have. And as a character, I think he's like, you can have dialogue with the Hulk now. You know what I'm saying? You get the benefit of Mark Ruffalo as an actor. He's not wasted just doing CGI faces. So there is benefit. And honestly, that's probably why we had so much Banner for a little bit, because they were already over budget on Endgame and all that type of stuff. Because, like, let's not put any more Hulk.
Rights issues. Universal technically has the rights to Incredible Hulk, which is why there's no solo and there's no more solo Incredible Hulk movies in the MCU. He's
right. Now, that part I get. But when he's in, like, if you have Banner go through an entire movie and you do 10 minutes of Hulk, you're saving big on budget. Give the Hulk his moment, his scene, and now
you're saving big. You saving big on CGI budget, but you also saving big on licensing budget.
Right. The less time now, Bruce Banner probably not affected by that licensing. The Hulk absolutely affected. So I mean, I get it, and that's what I'm saying. Like, Smart Hulk, technically a different character. So if we make this version of the Hulk, that's not the Incredible Hulk. We can use him as much as we want, and there's no stopping us. We can do whatever we want. Will Smart Hulk get a movie? Probably not.
No, nobody wants to see that.
See, like, even you was like, nah, nobody see that. That's what I'm saying. Like,
but I don't know if I really want to see a Hulk movie, period. Like, even the one I saw, it was like, it wasn't terrible, but I was just kind of like, when this dude,
punchy.
You know why? Because I don't like characters where people gotta like talk for them, or you gotta be like trying to reach into their mind and hope they can, like, I don't like that, like, that kind of tension of like, is this motherfucker crazy and are they gonna like snap and like kill me? It's just, so it's like when you turn into the Hulk, it's either you just fighting and now I gotta listen to like everybody else around you describe what's going on, as opposed to just being able to like watch.
Second episode of She-Hulk?
Yeah, it came out
midnight.
I thought
it's now Thursday.
All right. Speaking of that upset me with House of Dragons, because I got up Sunday morning. I turned on, you know, I mean, I was ready. I was like, it comes out Sunday. First thing I did, while my coffee wasn't even done yet, I had HBO Max on. I was like, House of Dragons, it's Sunday. Let's do this. Where is it?
9 o'clock.
I can't find it. 9 o'clock. I'll be almost in bed by then. So
HBO does that with all their shows.
I wasn't thinking about it because, you know, midnight hits and the new episodes for a lot of stuff will hit. It wasn't until I sat down, I was like, 9 p.m. Well, that makes sense. They did that with Game of Thrones. I was like, okay, fine. So then I went back to my other shows. I will say this, so I didn't end up watching House of Dragons till Monday night because of work and stuff. But I will be there Sunday night, 9 o'clock. So after the first episode of House of Dragons, like 9:01, play.
I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it till Monday either. So
I was also surprised with House of Dragons, like how much blowback there was for the Black Targaryen. That blew my mind.
Well, actually, he's
married into the but he has Targaryen blood. His dad was of the other house. I think because he's got the eyes and the hair, which is the violet blue eyes or whatever, and the white hair is Targaryen blood.
Now I did notice the white eyes, and I know he's married to the queen that never was, but I thought he still married into that house, and it was just like eventually my salt and pepper will be all salt. I thought that's what that was. So
yeah, but he had that like white blonde hair though.
So there's some Screen Rant and comicbook.com and some of these other things have talked about like his house and who he belongs to and how that's possible and stuff like that. I've read some of them. So
no, good deal. I'm not disputing. Like I'm definitely not disputing. I can't even keep up with all their damn names. I know the brother, I know the princess, I know the king.
The name's too crazy on Game of Thrones. They're too crazy.
Yeah,
it's like the names. Names. It's like the names too crazy. The nicknames are too similar. It's like everybody's the this of this and the that of that. The queen. It's like, man. Let me talk to Frank.
All right.
So, arrogant Targaryen, first of my name.
So back to She-Hulk, because I know a bunch of people had other issues with her breaking the fourth wall.
Did she break the fourth wall in the first episode though?
Yeah.
I think she looks at the camera. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it then because I didn't pick up on
it. The whole story is told in allegory because remember she's walking out of the courtroom. She's walking out of her office. And she's like, let's just go back and I'll just tell you all this stuff now. And then, like, she says that to camera.
Right. Yeah.
And then there's the moment where she turns and says something to camera and, like, Bruce hears her and then she just turns back.
And that's actually what I wanted to bring up because I thought it was interesting because, Deadpool breaks fourth wall constantly. And nobody ever notices. Hulk noticed her breaking the fourth wall.
Right.
Yeah, it was just very.
And she's a fourth wall breaker too.
She actually was fourth wall breaking before Deadpool was in comics.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
like literally,
the Deadpool stands there because his movie came out first. So obviously,
Yeah, but her comic came out first, so suck it.
Right, but his movie, they only do it because it was in his movie.
Yeah. He did it first to show that it could work. So she should be thanking him.
Wow. If it wasn't for Ferris Bueller, she wouldn't be doing it at all.
Tatiana Maslany, you owe Ryan Reynolds $500,000.
Ryan Reynolds crawled so she could walk. It's kind of bullshit that people be putting out there. Honestly, you know what? The only issue I had with the whole episode was I need an explanation as to why the hell Titania even came in the courtroom.
Right?
Yeah.
That I agree with that. I was like, first off, it took me a second. I didn't recognize her because Titania is not.
Wasn't she there to free the defendant?
Nothing is said.
No, she just comes through the wall of the courtroom.
She busts through the wall. Everybody's hiding. They're screaming. And then the friend is like, go, go, go. Do your Hulk thing.
Give me your shoes.
Right. Shoes. She takes the shoes off. And then she hulks out. And then we get a almost intentionally cheesy Mortal Kombat flying side. Actually, that was a Kung Pao flying sidekick.
Wow.
It was intent.
Wow.
Dude, you cannot tell me they thought that was done for any other reason. They did the sidekick the way they did the sidekick. I watched it 5 times because it was hilarious as hell to me. And then she just boom, punches clean across the room, right into the wall, slams the wall, hits the ground. She's out cold. Why were you even in here? Why were you even in here?
I didn't
If
know who
she
she was
at
at first. They
least-
never said her name or anything. I had to look it up.
Right. I had to look it up too. If they had at least had her come in and be attacking the plaintiff or anything along those lines, it would have made sense. Because actually, no, that would have been the defendant because she's
But I think it also
prosecuting
kind of
attorney
makes
right
sense with her character too, because isn't her character's whole thing like she just wants to be like famous and nobody takes her like seriously?
Not
Like,
until well, which one? Titania?
yeah.
Oh, I know nothing. I am not gonna sit here and try.
I was
to
doing
tell
like a little bit of reading about Titania, and it seems like a lot of her character development is centered around like wanting people to like take her seriously. So she does like crazy stuff, and I think
respect
just
my authority.
in the spirit of I think like Jennifer Walters' character on the show, I do think just having like a villain who's not like good at what they do. You know what I mean? Like you just have like a bunch of hints because like that's like what those lawyer shows are, right? It's like
Yeah.
it's just like a bunch of people who are like, yeah, like it's like small claims court, and you meet just like these wacky characters who all like hire Matlock, and you know the characters have to kind of fit the vibe of the whoever the hero is supposed to be, and if she's not going to be like super serious, it doesn't make sense to have like Titania pop in like, I'm Titania, goddess of the whatever, blah blah blah. It's like, what show are you on, bro? Like, I'm on She-Hulk. What show?
Right.
Because this is not that.
Yeah, I literally cannot. I just need more because I didn't fully understand
Well,
what was happening in that sequence. So
and
Yeah,
this
for
may
sure.
this may get annoying, but possibly they're going to go in episode 2. They're going to go back and explain her coming through the wall.
Like show what happened before she busts through the wall, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that would all right. That may help a little bit with this situation, but we'll see. But I still feel like there should have been something in the first episode to at least let you know who she was. Because when I had to stop and be like, "Who is this?" and look it up, I was like, it kind of, yeah, it just
takes you out of
it. Yeah, it took me out of it. So
I will say I have at least learned to, for lack of a better phrase, trust the process.
now I will say that it does show
It's
good
a
signs,
stupid
though,
process.
that Marvel's not leading people by the nose anymore. They're like, hey, we're 22 movies in, 5 series, all this stuff. We're gonna throw this character in, and you need to know who she is.
You know who I am. You know what this is.
So they're not
Marvel.
they're not like, oh, let me do 5 minutes of setup and explain the whole situation and waste all this screen time, so that they're just like, hey, we're gonna do this, and if you want to know, you'll look it up, kind of thing, which a lot of us did.
Or you'll wait till we show you.
Right.
So I'm just now seeing that it came out on Wednesday comment. Was that Game of Thrones, House of Dragons came out on Wednesday?
No, House of Dragons is on Sunday. I think She-Hulk probably launched on Wednesday early. Or if anything, I'm on Disney Plus right now. Hold on.
It's not on my Disney Plus.
Because I just logged in after midnight. So let me see.
My episodes don't show until 3 a.m. because they have to be midnight Pacific time.
Yep.
Same.
It's not on mine either.
So now, I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there with a VPN service and they got like West Coast Netflix or something.
Nah, because it would still be the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because 3 a.m. our time is midnight.
Well, I mean, like far. Well, I guess far east Netflix, like West Coast. But yeah, the 3-hour time difference, that was without. I did not do a lot of instant air recordings and covering of episodes because that meant I had to be up at 3 a.m. to record the episode and then have it ready to go and post by 4. It wasn't that serious to me. We'll talk about it when we talk about it. And now that we have a whole talk show that we do most Wednesdays around 9, I'm just going to change that whole tagline. Instead of every Wednesday at 9:05, most Wednesdays around 9. If I'm running a little late for work and we don't start till 10 after, then we just going to start at 10 after. I'm not going to beat myself up about that anymore.
It's the internet.
Right. It's forever. Once it's up there, it's up there. So,
but did I miss anything else interesting? Because
something slightly tiny interesting. We did an unboxing
in the same order.
We did an unboxing for the first time. I did a unboxing of 1983 or 84 Super Friends Kenner toy collection. Is coming back out now with the Super Powers collection.
Wow. Wait, the Super Powers collection. What Batman doing in there?
Exactly. Oh, Denisha, that one's for you. So
don't come for Batman. Don't come for Batman.
I'm not coming for him. I'm just saying he don't have superpowers. He in the wrong collection.
What's his power again?
I mean,
he's rich.
Okay. As much as I like Batman, Jeffrey ain't wrong.
I'm on Batman head. I know all about him. His dirty little secrets.
I had a whole conversation with my. This was actually pretty cool. I got a chance to sit and spend some time with my mom the other day. Went over and we watched Batman and Batman Returns. Because it was just kind of on, and mom's been dealing with some little health things, and so she's been asleep for a little bit. She was like, "I'm up. I don't want to go to sleep." She's flipping channels. Batman's on. She just leaves it there, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, we can watch this." We watched Batman and we watched Batman Returns, and we were just kind of laughing, talking about different parts of the movie and whatnot. And I had a whole conversation with my mom about how Batman has to be a mass murderer. Batman and Alfred are serial killers. And she was like looking so confused. And I was like, okay, so you see these two characters, right? Here you have Bruce Wayne and there you have Alfred. Did you see how that car raised up and tilted and turned? Who put that in that Batcave? Where are those mechanics at? Where's that construction team? Where are those engineers?
Who made this stuff? Where's the Amazon delivery driver who brought all these circuit boards and shit?
I'm going to tell you what happened. This entire construction company, when they completed the process, they were all probably sitting on that same little rotating platform. Alfred came down with bubbly champagne for everybody. They were all going to take a toast. And after they all died from the poison they drank, they just started pushing the bodies off into the pit on the side.
He pulled an Ozymandias?
He absolutely did. There's no way Bruce Wayne has that was something I actually kind of appreciated about the Batman. It was just an abandoned train terminal. Everything that was in there looks like something he possibly could have strapped to the back of his bike and drove in a piece at a time. Now, some high-end equipment out there, don't get me wrong, because he had the whole video camera contact lens. That's pretty dope.
That was one, that was
that's realistic. Parts. That's like a thing you could say, okay, you could pay some money, have somebody make this for you under the table, and they just gonna be like, oh, so you just like a weirdo who trying to spy on somebody.
Right.
No.
Not like, I'm saying there was some high-tech stuff. It's absolutely plausible. And it's still small. He could put that in his backpack and drive into the cave and put that there. But having
to come
70-inch, having a 70-inch monitor, bro, you ain't put that in the car. How did you get that there?
First of all, it's under Wayne Manor. So you can't even just be like, oh, I'm having because you can't even do the thing where it's okay, I'm gonna have one person handle this team and they're gonna do this part. Then after they put the pipes in, I'm gonna fire them and I'm gonna bring somebody else in to do the drywall. Then I'm gonna fire them and bring somebody. It's
you got the Reservoir Dogs, that whole thing.
And I'm sorry, but construction crews take breaks. They talk.
Yeah.
They hang out. So that it's just I agree. That was now I recently watched Batman versus Superman, and I agree. Like Batman because I had a friend that hadn't seen it. I had a friend that had not seen any superhero movies ever, has never seen a Superman movie. So we started with Wonder Woman, then we watched Man of Steel, then we watched Batman versus Superman, and then we were gonna watch Captain America, but I started falling asleep. So yeah, because and then I told
should have
her
hit it with Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I said that's gonna be an all day thing because we watching that version. I don't even consider there to be another version anymore. So
that's funny.
I mean, it's the better of the two, but if I never have to watch either of them again, I'll be okay.
Well, I mean, I will say this: it was interesting to watch it with someone who has never seen a superhero movie. That was cool to hear the questions that she had, and this, that, and the other. Because like, I've watched Watchmen with people that haven't seen, and I was like, I started to think about watching that with her, and I was like, nah, we're gonna have to work up to Watchmen. Like, you need to.
Yeah, Watchmen.
I can't just jump you in the deep end right away.
That's not a 101 course.
It's crazy because I honestly feel like you keep saying, "What did you miss?" Like, hell, you're bringing the whole show back up.
Well, I mean, even if I can't get on, I normally at least tune in and make some comments, or at least try to watch some of it before I hop on, so I know what we've been talking about. So
you've done fantastic. It feels like you've been here the whole time.
Amped up on the damn Pirates.
All right,
dude,
you got that energy. I'm feeling it.
Got me wanting to dress as a pirate for Halloween. I thought I had my outfit all picked out. Now I'm like, maybe I need to be a pirate. I got an eye patch.
Yeah.
So
I have this really nice tricorn.
Ooh.
Southdown Leatherworks.
Because I'm playing Greedfall right now, and that's what my guys got on in Greedfall. Because that's one of my favorite hats for pirates and stuff. So, like I'm playing this Greedfall RPG where you're semi-pirate-ish, and I have not changed my hat one time. I don't care if I got better hats, helm, because most of the things you get in the game are helms.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it on, and I'm like, I don't care. I want the hat back. Like, give me my hat back. So it's a hat. Like, it doesn't affect my armor that much in the game. I'm like, nah, I want the aesthetic of it, because I can't see my pirate running around with a full-on medieval helm.
Yeah.
So, but I'm excited, man. Like, we got Rings of Power about to drop. We got Love and Thunder about to drop, which I haven't got to see. I just recently got my hands on Jurassic World Dominion, which I haven't had a chance to watch. So, like, I've got quite. Oh, and I'll be watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, or whatever it's called. I'm watching it Saturday. I'm watching it on my day. Waking up, coffee, boom. So good. And I mean, there's been I've heard good things. I've got Echoes I need to watch on Netflix. I've heard good things about that.
Echo.
Yeah, I've had 3 or 4 people tell me about it now. I'm like, all right, I'll add it to my list and I'm gonna check it out. Saturdays is my main day to watch movies. So
cool. For me, it's Sunday. Like Sunday, I typically have some time, and I've got to the point. If it's something simple, if it's an hour or less, let's say this carefully. If it's an hour or less, I can usually get time during my day to watch it. Anything over an hour, and if it requires like my undivided attention, nah.
Now, I will say this. I have heard about Echoes, that it's the type of show that you can't be on your phone. You can't get up and go use the bathroom. Like, you literally have to be paying attention. And that's kind of what intrigued me. I was like, all right.
I'm at home. I can always pause that shit.
Right. No, but I'll sit there and I'll check Facebook, or I'll get it.
Right.
You know,
no, I get what you're
saying.
I'll
look down.
I get what you're saying. Most times when I sit down to watch a movie at home, like surprisingly enough, if I'm watching a movie at home, I tend to like set the phone down and watch the movie. Like, that's the point of what I'm doing, is watching the movie. I am worse about like if I'm having to, like, you know when I do that? Like, as I binge through like 3-4 episodes of a show that I'm trying to catch up on or get finished, that's when it starts kind of like, watching, and then we're like,
And see that, and that I found that I do binge watch, but I try to I'll binge watch an episode or two, and then I'll switch to something else, and then come back and watch another episode or two. Because I've noticed that about myself is if I get 3, 4, 5, 6 episodes deep, I'm still watching, but I start to get very distracted.
you get on autopilot.
Yeah.
You get on viewing autopilot. It's the same characters, the same sounds, same audio. 1 episode, 2 episodes, but at 3rd episode, you just kind of like you start predicting the episode as it plays out. So yeah, that's what I said. Most things, if it's like an hour, I can catch it. I can get through it during the day. Like I watched the Harley Quinn on my way home. I'll just say that.
Yeah, that show was good.
I really like that show. And this was a really good episode about the Joker. So
I don't understand why they don't just do that with Harley Quinn in the movies. It's just like y'all just make all these cartoons that would be perfect. Not with everybody, but I mean I think just like in the way that she sees everybody in Gotham City, where it's just like, they're caricatures of the character you know and love, but they're accurate. Like Selena Kyle definitely would be one of those. I mean, she's acting literally like a cat when it comes to her relationship with Bruce, where it's like, I want you to like do all the stuff I need you to do, but like sleeping
only
your own.
Pet me when I want to be petted. Like,
exactly. And like Bruce is all needy and clingy and having issues and bad taste in women.
He got his 2 cats, Thomas and Martha.
Now, I do have a question. Did anybody? So on HBO Max, I watched Clark and Lois. I got caught up on that. I
gotta do Superman and Lois. I gotta do season
Superman.
2.
Yeah.
Now that season 2 is available, yes, I've been waiting on that.
What is Naomi though? I have not heard of that, and it's apparently.
What is it?
Well, it got canceled, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's a disappointment at the end. From what I understand, it's actually a pretty good show.
I didn't watch the last episode yet.
I didn't know anything about it, so
it was decent. It was a little like some of it was like the interpersonal stuff was more interesting than like some of the superhero stuff, in my opinion. Like the superhero stuff moved a little bit slow because it was all like interdimensional crap. But fortunately it got axed.
See, I didn't know it got axed, but I caught up on Doom Patrol, which I loved, and Stargirl. Stargirl continues to surprise me how much I like it.
Stargirl is a damn good show.
So, I just started it yesterday.
Okay.
And you know what?
I'll be checking in with you here on Wednesday.
Which brother is that? Is that
Luke Wilson?
Luke Wilson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked him in that show.
Yes. That's part of what sells the show for me.
Surprisingly enough, it was because it's one of those things. It kind of answers the questions you never knew that you could ask. But what happens to sidekicks? And the way they kind of explain and how he knows what he knows and the way he thinks and his mind operates and stuff. It just such a good show. And it's gonna have some real touchy-feely moments. And it's very much a high school drama. It's very much a teen, coming of age story, but it's also very much a comic book TV show. And you get all the goodness of a comic book TV show, as well as like some, fairly decent acting from the cast.
Not just that, but I enjoyed the villains.
Oh, the villains were
the villains were nice and original. You'll really enjoy it, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Well, it's like everybody that's showing up is like familiar in some way, form, or fashion. Like the Sportsmaster and Huntress, and so like now I'm like, oh, so that must be Tigress, and where's Artemis, and I've been enjoying it though. I didn't watch it at first because I was just like, I have so much shit that I'm watching that like I can't possibly keep up, especially if this is supposed to. I thought it like tied back into like the Arrowverse, And I was just like, I don't have any plans on that.
Yeah.
I've teleported out of the Arrowverse. I am like,
Legends of Tomorrow is like the last thing I'm watching from it. Just because it's the only show that's just like, yeah, man, this is crazy. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that about it.
I am 2 seasons behind on The Flash, and I have not watched the last season of Arrow.
I think I'm like
I've watched
two
everything but
seasons
the
behind
last.
on all of them. Supergirl, Arrow.
Supergirl.
I stopped all of them.
I'll finish Supergirl at some point just because I literally can honestly say that if Superman or Supergirl or some Kryptonian is in it, I watch it all the way through.
Yeah,
at some point.
I get through it. You know what? And maybe one day we'll go back and do a whole like old series conversation. John Cryer, not the worst Lex Luthor.
Nope. He's what they were trying to do with Homeboy.
Yeah.
And he got it right.
Yeah.
One, I think because he was a little bit older. And
that
two,
definitely would have made a difference.
And two, because it was like, I don't know, it felt like he actually knew what it was like to intimidate someone versus like just sticking up.
And this is one of those, like, I'm sure at this point, this is not an Easter egg or, like, I'm sure a lot of people know this, but John Cryer was Lex Luthor's nephew in the movies.
No, I didn't know that.
If you go back, I want to say it was Superman 3. Yeah, it had to be Superman 3. Lex Luthor. Superman 3 had what? Richard Pryor, so it was Superman 2. Superman 2, when Lex is broken out of jail and he gets put back towards the end, and they try to do the whole. Actually, it might be the one with Richard Pryor. I have to go back and look. But John Cryer is Lex Luthor's nephew in that movie, and there's a whole scene where he's like, he gets carried in when they get flown into prison, as they do every time. He gets flown into prison at the end, and of course, because Superman is holding them, he gets ready to set him down. He's like, "Oh man, that's cool. That rocks!" And he has the little mohawk. I mean, it was literally like every Brat Pack actor from the '80s, how they kind of had the swoop mohawk thing and the striped pants and the loud jacket. But for him to come back and play Lex Luthor, when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. So I was pleased with it. And like I said, John Cryer, not the worst Lex Luthor. He's no Michael Rosenbaum.
But I was just about to drop his name because he's one of my favorite. He turned out to be one of my favorite Lexes. To see his character arc throughout the show and all that stuff, he ended up being one of my favorite Lexes. I mean, there'll always be a special place in my heart for Gene Hackman, but Eisenberg is at the bottom of the list, and Rosenberg is towards the top. So
yeah,
Eisenberg was. It's just sometimes you should I get the actor's confidence, but sometimes just save your movie. I think about that all the time with Back to the Future. It's Homeboy wasn't working, and they had to get Michael J. Fox in there, and it saved the movie. And people, and it's people talk about it was jacked up, but it's then when the Eric Stoltz cut came out on YouTube, you're like, oh yeah, this dude this is a completely different movie because this dude is
so stiff.
All stiff and eerie and creepy, and it made the town feel a lot more like Pleasantville, where you're really, or Stepford, where you're really, really, really out of place and you're freaked out by everything, but not in a way that had that youthful vibrance of Michael J. Fox. He actually looked scared in the thing, and not Michael J. Fox was just more this is weird. What's going on?
Okay. I now get why nobody remembers. It was Superman 4 that John Cryer was in. Superman 4. But This was. This is his look.
I feel like Joker is one of those villains where it's like, I wish they would like do less Joker stuff and more Lex Luthor stuff in like mainstream media.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of over the Joker.
I've been over this.
I need some Scarecrow, I need some Clayface, I need some Toy Master, I need some other villains. Give me what is it? What was the four the ones that were named after the playing cards? The King, the Jack,
Royal Flush.
The Royal Flush. Hell, I'll take them over Joker.
We're literally just talking about them.
Yes, we were.
Like, that's the thing when they get in there and they start pitching all these other villains. It's like, yeah, but what about Joker? What's he up to? What if he's just in the cell next to the Riddler and like says something to him at the end of the movie? Like, let's just get him in there. Like, you know, that's how them Hollywood executives be talking. That's how you have
somebody somewhere is like, you can't do Batman without the Joker. Okay, you can't do Batman. If you do Batman, you have to do Joker.
It's like there's more Batman movies without the Joker than there are with the Joker.
There are so many more villains to pull from in Batman
that we're never going to get.
Joker's his arch nemesis.
It doesn't matter.
No, but that's his arch nemesis.
Okay, put him in the last movie then.
Yeah, if you're gonna reboot, because they have this love-hate relationship. They have it's like yin and yang, you know.
No, here's the problem. Here's the problem with the Joker.
Do not
Joker.
Do that. Nope. We would do that. That's another show, Jeff.
Only proves that Batman is bad at his job.
Every villain that escapes from Arkham with the frequency that they escape from Arkham indicate that he's bad at his job.
I truly believe that Arkham is made out of paper mache. Like, as much as villains break out, they be in their cell, they look over at the window, they grab one of the bars, they go, hey, this is just paper. Let's go, guys.
That's Bruce Wayne family too.
Well, he went with the lowest bid on the construction is all I'm saying.
It was probably the same group that did the Batcave.
No, I don't know about that now. There's some stuff in the Batcave. So
now he got him to do the Batcave and Arkham 2 for 1, and then he locked them all up in Arkham when they were done.
Right.
And then
like,
they'd be out by now.
Bruce Wayne is Batman. Like, they would know exactly, you know what? Because I promise you, one of those engineers is seeing all this high-tech stuff going into this cave, and he's gonna make sure that he works on the keypad for the door, and he's gonna program in a Trojan horse code that's gonna open that up to get in there and get that Batmobile. And if he don't, he a fool. But he's gonna have champagne when they celebrate, and it won't matter.
Yeah, I hope you got insurance because Batman's definitely gonna crack your sternum when he finds you.
No. If you're lucky, he's going to turn you into a Robin.
Wow. He's like, let me see you do a backflip.
That's how I see it. That's how it goes. That's what happened with the Todd Kid. That's how he became a Batman. He was still in the hubcaps.
Yeah.
Batman shows up and was like pretty good with that crowbar. He comes back full circle. Oh man!
I will say I liked mentioning that though made me think of Titans. I really enjoyed some of the Robin Nightwing interaction in Titans.
I like the way it went down. I like the writing for that. I don't care for I don't like the actor that they used for
Jason Todd.
That Jason Todd.
I think he was a perfect guy because I wanted to punch him in his face the moment I saw him. But that's just how I feel about Jason Todd. I'm like, yeah.
Honestly, I needed somebody who. This is not to say that let's see. How am I trying to say this? That actor did not have he could not convince me he was a Jason Todd. that makes sense? Like he was not like Jason Todd is probably like second to Dick Grayson. You know what I'm saying? Like he's that dude. And on this show, on Titans, you know, and I get that it's another interpretation. It's based on,
Right.
you know, so it's like they have a little bit of freedom to move and whatnot. But you have an actor like Brandon Thwaites, and not that he's just the greatest actor, but you take his size, stature, and everything like that. I want somebody who feels like his equal,
Now,
or somebody who at least in his head could think he's.
I kind of liked how they played up the in his shadow aspect of it. Though.
I feel like that's like
they
a whole.
They did. That's one thing that I felt like they did right. Like it drove him crazy to just be in his shadow, no matter how good of a Robin he was, he would never be.
And I get. I'm not talking about that part. I'm not talking about like the writing of it. I'm talking about the actors, the visual appearance of these two people. When I look at the person who was playing Jason Todd, I'm looking at him thinking like, you really think that you're his equal? Like you feel like what you have on here, like your presence and everything, like you feel like that.
I mean, he's like I agree, because he's like what, 5 inches shorter than him and like 40 pounds lighter.
I mean, significantly small. And all I'm saying is I wanted somebody who could justify in his head thinking that he's his equal.
But I think
deserves to be there.
I think it was supposed to also be more like, I mean, for one, like Tim is older. And you know, they have that thing in comic books and in movies and TV where the older person has to be bigger because that's just how we
they want you to be able to recognize
and see. And so I think the gulf in age was the reason why, but I think his lack of stature is what added to the kind of like underdogness or scrappiness of it, where he's just like, yeah, he like walks in, he's like, oh, I'm the badass, I know what's going on, I'm still Robin with Bruce Wayne, you've been out of the loop, you haven't been doing this and that, and I've been out here in these streets. And he's not wrong, he's been out here, he's been active, but it's like that kid who like, you like come home and you've been lifting weights a little bit, and then you take dad out in the driveway and like beat him in basketball, and then he just sky hook you all night long. And that's like the vibe I got from them. That's kind of how I've always kind of personally seen
Jason. Do you have siblings?
Do I? I'm the oldest.
Okay, so you might not get it. I have an older brother and I have a younger brother. And let me tell you, I will always have that feeling of being overshadowed by my older brother. But I dare my younger brother, who's probably as tall as Jeff, like, it don't matter.
Yeah.
It don't matter. You are always like, you are my younger brother. And it's like right there, I become Nightwing. And it's like, if you were to see my younger brother and see me, nah, y'all don't think I got a shot. Like,
right.
Like you looking at me, I'm like, what, 5'7", 5'8" on a good day? This dude is every bit of 6 feet. And you know what I'm saying? Probably twice my weight. He's a big guy. He a big guy. You know what I'm saying? Got all the cuts, all the rips and everything. But if I had to, I'd put him down. Wouldn't think twice about it because that's my little brother. So up here, it's always going to be that. If they present it in a weird way, like, and I get what you're saying as far as the underdog mentality, and he kind of feels he has to walk in the room and act up in order to prove he's as good.
Right.
When in actuality, he really ain't got to do all of that. But he don't know he ain't got to do all of that.
But he does because he's in a situation where he's like coming out of the situation under Bruce, but now he's just going back into another Bruce, basically. Like that was like kind of like Dick's whole journey as well. This like duality between like how much am I like Bruce and how much am I not like Bruce, and how much do I want to be like Bruce? How much am I already like Bruce? How much do I not want to be like Bruce? And I think like that was coming through in that relationship with what's his name? The younger one. It just blanked.
With Todd?
Jason Todd, yes. That was coming through in his relationship with Jason Todd because Jason Todd, he sees himself, and just like Bruce always wanted to tell him how he should do it and he didn't want to listen. It's repeating the same cycle. It's like when you have kids and you're like, I'm saying the same thing my dad told me and he not listening to me, just like I didn't listen to my dad when he tried to tell me when I was younger. Yeah. We all repeat those same cycles over and over. But I think it was just like he had to be like small and petulant in order to like contrast against like Dick's like Bruciness. Otherwise, if he was like doing it right, we would just be like, damn, like Dick, like relax, like he's doing it. But it's like, no, like Jason is actually kind of wild and he needs somebody to tell him to like chill out for 2 seconds.
I mean, when I look at the characters they have, like, you know what I'm saying, they got Alan Rickman for Hawk, you know what I'm saying, his humongous ass. I'm not even trying to believe that he was ever a teen, you know what I'm saying?
Ever. He's Gaston to me. Like, he ate 5 dozen eggs growing up every day.
Right.
That man is huge.
So you got Alan Rickman, he's right here, and Brandon Thwaites, who's, you know, decently tall, and then you got little bitty Jason Todd. When I saw Jason Todd and Hawk on the same screen, I was like, bro, do not fight him.
But isn't
Jason Todd look like a midget?
Isn't Robin supposed to be small?
Robin is, but he's now like Red Hood and in his Red Hoodness, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, like, ultimately, well,
just
the problem
you change your costume don't mean you're gonna hit puberty.
Well, but see that's the problem. And I get that this is one of those, like, you know, this is one of my like comic book guy moments, you know what I'm saying? But it's like they fast tracked Jason Todd into
guys, I don't know if you can hear me or not. My internet is locking up. I can't hear y'all. I'm gonna hop off. I think it's on my end, not y'all's. Y'all have a good night. I'm sorry if I interrupted.
Brought all the good content. Like I said, covered all the same stuff we talked about, which is pretty dope because I didn't send him no cliff notes. But no, I mean, like in a weird way, they did just kind of like, and not just like for the show or the season or whatnot, but just like in terms of the implied timeline, you know what I'm saying? Like, how long was Jason Todd Robin before, you know, Dick showed back up? How long was Dick gone? And I mean, it's just like there's some questions there that don't really fit. But as far as the age and everything, at the time that Jason Todd started until Jason Todd died, and then of course how he was not revived at that moment at the Lazarus Pit. You know what I'm saying? And I get, like, Titans is not a comic, so he had more time to develop as Red Hood and be Red Hood. So when he showed back up, he was a challenge for Dick.
Yeah.
This little dude who was Robin 2 days ago is not ready to be going up against Nightwing, who is only not putting you on your ass because it's, you know, out of the kindness of his heart. Because he knows he looks at you like
out of respect for Bruce.
Right. He knows what you've been through. So, but, you know, Titans, see, you done switched over to DC. I'm all in. We could.
Titans, I liked it a lot. I like, you know, I like that show a lot. I mean, it's like, you know, I don't have the track record of shitting on DC and the group, but when they do stuff right, I give them props.
No, you honestly, I don't even feel like you shit on DC. You've been very critical of DCEU. That's acceptable.
Which, personally, I have always thought that DC does a much better job of short series, like 1-2 seasons, and they do a real good job with it.
Season 3, they always go into like the power of love, and it's like, damn, man,
and
like
they go like completely off the rails. But
Because
like,
isn't season 3 when Green Arrow was like, I'm not killing people anymore? And I was like, well, why the hell am I watching this? Like, I literally started watching this because you was like,
I have to go back and look and double check, but I want to say that generally speaking, it's season 3 when the cast has options to buy in to become executive producers. And that's typically when you see shit change.
yeah,
Seasons 1 and 2, like they get season 1, that's ordered. They're just the actor. They're just a part of it. Season 2, if it makes it through and they get that season 3, well, nobody thought they were going to get to season 3 on a TV show. So now you start getting actors who give up a couple points and they want to buy in. They start getting EP rights and things like that. Normally, when the show is ready to cancel and you start having like the main character as the only executive producer, that's when you know the show should have already gone off the air and they're just stretching it out for their paycheck. I get it to some degree, but Burn Notice should have ended 2 seasons before it did. The TV show Psych, I like Psych. Psych is hilarious to me. They was rehashing the same jokes.
Tell Julie.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh my God. Jules, I'm actually mad Jules agreed to marry because I'm like, I've been watching you get lied to for all these seasons. Why would you say yes to that? No, you can never trust him. Ever.
He's literally the greatest liar you know.
Everything that comes out of his mouth has the potential to be a lie.
A believable one.
Right. And Gus is going to be in on it. And your partner who left and went to the other little town or wherever, he just ran off because he can't stand up that. But I gotta do the last movie. I did the next to the last movie. I did that one where
I don't think I've watched any of the movies. I think I just watched the show.
The first movie was pretty good. It was just a long episode. It wasn't a movie. It was just a long episode. But it was good because it was a long episode and everything you expect in an episode was there. Had Ali Sheedy, the character she plays, the crazy one that's obsessed.
The TikTok lady or whatever.
That one, yeah.
Yin. Oh, Yin.
Yin, that's it.
Yeah.
She's in that one, and I don't know what the second movie is. I haven't seen that one yet, but I think it's like on Peacock now. So
isn't one of them Yang? Or is that in the show? I know at some point
I think
get out of jail to help them find.
I want to say Yang died already, or Ali Sheedy played. Either she was Yang or she was Yin. She was one of them, right? But yeah, she was the kind of crazy one, and she was actually like really smart but crazy, and had the crush on Sean, yeah. I was about to say, not Gus, the other guy. The other guy, the one who the show is about. But, I was happy to see Gus land on his feet. And when I saw him on Ballers on HBO. But I was watching him and I was just like, ooh. I just need him one time to say, come on, son. Like, I need that character. I think it would work. They could write it in. It would fit. Okay, alas, 3:48. I think we've covered everything, folks. Is there any other major topics you feel you want to bring up, want to mention?
Nope.
Dave, you got anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right, Jeff. Just out of you know what? I just want you to watch the first episode of Game of Thrones.
You mean House of Dragons?
No.
I'm watching. If I watch, I'm watching House of Dragons first. I'm gonna do it backwards. I want to do it backwards.
Might as well. Okay. I think that one would be. I don't know. I can't even say that it would be better or worse. That there would be any kind of like benefit to it, but okay, sure. See, she was in seasons 3, 4, 5, and 7.
She's also wait, no, that's not her. Who's
She's the character Mr. Yang. In Evening with Mr. Yang, Mr. Yin presents Yang 3 in 2D, and she was in Psych the Musical. I did watch Psych the Musical. The counterpart and former partner is Mr. Yin. Poo, 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 poo. Yeah. So it's just, I mean, it doesn't go into much detail, but it's just like, you know, Mr. Yin was the other person. She was Mr. Yang, and the two of them were supposedly going back and forth. So Mr. Yin was in, let me see, what episodes was he in? Because I don't think he was in the musical. That was Peter Weller. And so, yeah, Mr. Yin presents in Yang 3 and 2D. I feel like that was where yeah, because yeah, okay. I was just looking. I was like, no, I felt like Yin died. He did die. Yang is still alive. She's in jail.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, now that we have that mystery solved, let's see, what time is it? Will I be able to check out She-Hulk tonight? Not tonight. Still 2 hours away. Not gonna happen.
yeah.
Not gonna happen. We do work tomorrow, and we got to get.
You have to work tomorrow.
I do have to work tomorrow. My wife will get to work from home tomorrow, so that works out.
Oh, so she'll be home.
She will be home. So yeah, that's been a show. And
so I don't have to wait. Well, I'll talk after we're off.
That'll work. Jeff, appreciate having you on, man. Conversation's always better when you're here.
Yes.
Dave, thanks for hanging out with me again tonight as we
Not
do
a problem.
running our mouths and talking geek, weighing in on different topics. That's what we do here on Weigh In Wednesdays. Be sure to click that QR code, like and subscribe, and follow us on all our other areas of social media so you can be a part of all the great conversations we have. Oh, wait, somebody's here. Oh, cool. Got that last little comment. We appreciate it. Dope. That's what it is, man. DJ Fast Snacks, we thank you for hanging out with us. It's been a fun time. We will see you all next week. Look out for some special shows and episodes we got coming up. We got a couple episodes of Why Did I Watch That? And we got another show that we're trying to get off the ground, get in the works. We got some pretty cool stuff. And I got to show you how that's been trending on TikTok. I posted some stuff about the last one we did. It's going pretty good. Got some comments on that. But for Jeffrey, for David, I am Sam. We are Grown A Geeks, and we are out of here.